14 episodes ago, we started with a simple question. Who is Candace Owens? Not the headlines, not the clips, not the social media posts, but the person behind one of the most influential and controversial brands in modern political media. What followed was a journey through years of public controversies, shifting narratives, broken alliances, personal feuds, conspiracies, contradictions, and accusations. We traced her rise to an obscure internet figure to a national political commentator. We examined her time at Turning Point USA, PragerU, and the Daily Wire. We followed the conflicts with former friends, former allies, former employees, critics, journalists, creators. We looked at the patterns that appeared again and again. Public attacks, the narrative reversals, the conspiratorial thinking, the audience mobilization, the contradictions, and ultimately the human cost when those conflicts move beyond politics and into people's personal lives. Along the way, we've asked different questions about influence, about accountability, about truth, about power, and what happens when a media personality becomes larger than the institutions that help create them. After 14 episodes, tons of clips, articles, interviews, and hours of research, the story no longer is about one incident. It's about a pattern those incidents reveal when viewed together, and whether that pattern tells us something not just about Candace Owens, but about the media environment that rewards outrage, conflict, and narrative above almost anything else. This is part 14. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I hope everyone is doing well, and welcome if you are new. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so we are going to continue with our Candace Owens series. This is number 14 in the episode. I had no idea that it would be this much when I started this series, but I am hoping that this is the final episode. So I believe that this will be the final episode, and there will be one extra bonus episode after this. So let's do this, shall we? Okay, so after Charlie's death, Candace Owens started hinting that there was something else going on, that things didn't quite add up, and she was dropping a lot of insinuations at first that gradually got more and more accusatory. And after she, blamed the bees and Israel and the U.S. military, National Guard, I think, in maroon shirts, and on and on and on. She then turned her sights on to Turning Point USA, even though she was always planning on doing so. And she was leaving little crumbs along the way, priming her audience for that. Then shortly after she started accusing Turning Point USA, she switched her ire to Erika Kirk. So that is where we are in the timeline. So let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so I wanted to show you when this first kind of started. It all started with this open letter to Erika Kirk that Candace Owens did on her show.
All right, you guys, happy Thursday. So Erika Kirk went onto Fox News last night, and she made a plea for transparency. And I have to say, I'm totally with her on that one, and I would like to join her in the pursuit of it with an open letter to her. In the same vein, one of the fired TPUSA employees has now posted a public video informing the public of exactly what's been going on behind the scenes and the real reason that they believe that a lot of people were fired. Now, after watching their boss get assassinated and after working 20-hour days, this young employee was subjected to a rather bizarre loyalty test. We're going to tell you all about that. So welcome back to Candace. Let there be light. I mean, at least that was, in a nutshell, what Erika Kirk told the reporter Trace Gallagher in a one-on-one interview regarding what she is hoping to get out of these court proceedings. She wants transparency. Take a listen.
I want there to be no hesitation in understanding of what happened to my husband that day. I want there to always be full transparency, because what I don't want to have happen is for there not to be, and then I am relying then on social media and other news outlets to explain the narrative rather than saying, hey, this is what happened. This is what here's all of the, it's just as hard, all of the facts on the table for you guys to see. And you guys can see on full display what happened to my husband. And there is no ifs, ands, or buts or confusion as to who did it and why.
I don't believe her at all. That wasn't convincing.
I don't believe her at all. She's on a talk show just trying to say, like, I want the whole process to be transparent, because the defense was trying to get the cameras kicked out of the courtroom. They're still trying to get the cameras kicked out of the courtroom for the motion hearings. A lot of people get this confused. They're not talking about for the trial. They're talking about the preliminary hearing and then all the motion hearings that you will have. There will be tons and tons of motion hearings before the trial gets started. And we'll get to see all kinds of evidence that they have, because the defense will say, we want this evidence taken out, and they'll put it in writing. And then the prosecutor will say they don't want it taken out. And so all this stuff gets taken care of in pretrial motions, which then gives us a chance to see what's going on, what they have, and before the trial. So that's sort of what she was referring to. But then Candace has to be horribly mocking towards her. It's just uncalled for, ridiculous behavior.
I don't know what was hard about getting that sentence out. That seems remarkably rehearsed. It almost just seems like she forgot a line. Nothing in her eyes there makes you believe it. She's telling the truth, but beyond the eyes, just the actions, right? You can judge people by their actions. Erika, if she truly wanted more transparency, she could provide it, because you don't need it in a courtroom. We actually do not need to turn to the courts to have the public understand what happened on that day, because before the courts even got involved, the first people that had access to exactly what happened in 4K, as Tyler Boyer said, was Turning Point USA. They seized the cameras. They could have said, here, I'm also going to have some private investigators take a look at everything and tell them what they think. I was one of the people that called and personally requested to view the tapes. I said, we don't have to release them. I just want to see the tapes. And they were immediately...
Okay, so in this episode, she's talking about the footage of Charlie Kirk getting shot, which we all saw. Everybody's seen it, but it's part of the trial now, evidence in the trial. So you can't just give the evidence to Candace or release it or anything like that. And also, what does that prove of anything? That just shows him getting shot. The trial will show the data around the alleged shooter, will show camera footage of the alleged shooter, will show a myriad of evidence that they have collected in the investigation in the trial. So, and that's what she's referring to, is the trial, that she wants the trial to be transparent. So this is just, do you see what I'm saying? This is just disgusting behavior, and how anybody who knows how trials work and how murder investigations work could sit here and watch this and be like, oh yeah, this is perfectly fine, is beyond me. So that tells me everybody watching her has no idea how this stuff works, apparently.
Cagey. They've been cagey about information. They've been changing information for saying, oh, I didn't realize that we lied about this or we lied about that. So making this public plea to the courts, I don't know. I think that it stands in stark contrast to the actions that are available to Erika Kirk as the CEO and chairman of this massive organization. But exactly how massive Anyway, I wanted to write this open letter to Erika because I know that Turning Point USA watches every episode of this podcast and that people then take what I say back to her and they give her notation. So I would appreciate it if the elves at Turning Point USA just let her see this in its entirety. Here we go. Because more information has become available to me. I am feeling, well, I'm feeling some type of way. Here we go. Ready? Dear Erika, I thought it best to do this publicly. I think public conversations keep everybody honest. And there are some things that certainly need to be clarified because sometimes the gap between the truth and the lie is what happens behind closed doors. You and Charlie began dating in earnest in 2019, and in retrospect, it was accompanied by a season of a lot of change.
Okay, like, so that part isn't true either. She knows that it's not true, but she's trying to make it seem like it was less time, but, or closer to when she left to make it seem like Erika Kirk was the reason why she had to leave Turning Point USA. So, but they actually started dating in 2018. Let me double check that. Yes, so they started dating in September 2018, and they were very serious from the very beginning of the relationship. So when she says you started dating in earnest, she's just being catty and just disgusting here. And this is what she will do throughout this entire time that she started attacking Erika is she leaves these little catty remarks, these little jibs and jabs, and her audience picks up on it. And it's just another way of manipulating her audience into disliking Erika Kirk.
For one, I was getting married and virtually, therefore, joined at the hip with my fiance. He was sort of a new third wheel at all of our events. A few months later, on May 1st, the public was informed that I was resigning from my position as the communications director of Turning Point USA. Now, there has been a lot of public speculation as to what led to that decision. The media ran with it was anti-Semitism or some disagreement about Kanye West, but that wasn't true. None of that was true. The truth, and I think that you very well know what the truth is, because you were around for it, is that Charlie and I had a disagreement, which fractured my trust in him. He did something that he had never done before. He lied to my face about money. Now, in retrospect, I believe that the manner in which I discovered the lie might have been by design, but there's no need for us to delve into conspiracy when the facts are plenty enough. Charlie had taken a meeting down in Florida with Ike Perlmutter at Mar-a-Lago. It was a fundraising meeting. For whatever reason, he did not want me to know about this meeting, and that was strange. It was meant to be kept a secret. It was strange because we had always collaborated on and taken those sorts of meetings together. Anyway, I found out about it, and I decided to ask him.
So I don't believe her when she says this. I don't believe that that her and Charlie only made decisions for his company together. So I don't think that that's true. I don't believe anything she ever says. It's always twisted, taken out of context, added to, yeah. So the idea that Charlie, who started his company before her, only did business deals with her around is utter nonsense. She acts like she was like ownership of this company.
Casually, as we were riding up an elevator at the Trump Hotel in DC, I said to him, have you heard from Ike recently? And he looked me right in the face, just as he was getting off on his floor. And he said, no, I haven't. I haven't heard from him in like 2 weeks. And I then said back to him, really, Charlie, because you had lunch with him yesterday at Mar-a-Lago. And I saw his stomach drop. His entire face looked, as if he was going down a roller coaster. He stuck his arm back in the elevator really quickly and tried to explain it away. He then pivoted toward an apology, but obviously the damage was done. And if I'm being honest, I was as hurt as I was shocked and confused by it because we were close. We did go back down to the lobby. We sat at a table and we talked. I don't even remember whether or not I was angry. I probably was. That does tend to be my choice emotion. But deep down, there was a part of me that knew that it was coming because of a lot of the new hires that were coming into Turning Point USA post Kanye tweet. Charlie had new people in his ear that were hijacking his ambition, making him believe that money was the truest measure of success. Charlie was a brilliant fundraiser. Everybody knows that, but he was also young. He was naive to what the wrong money could invite into his life. And I warned him. I warned him in that restaurant. I warned him specifically about Stacey Sheridan. Everything about her made my skin crawl. And I suspected she and Tyler had something to do with it. I also warned him about Schaefer Security and Dan Flood. You can check the text messages because you have them. And now I am left wondering, obviously, if Charlie had heeded my advice, if he would still be alive. I've also come to another realization that I missed at that time. Maybe the newest and the biggest influence in his ear. Who was that? Obviously, it was you. You were the newest and biggest influence in Charlie's life. You kind of all arrived at the same time. And you too, Erika, you lied to my face as we sat down in that hotel and we spoke for 4 hours. But I want to be clear, it was different. You see, with Charlie, I could forgive him. We were always like brother and sister. We went on tours thereafter. But you didn't do it when you lied. You didn't do it out of naivety. You didn't do it because you were young and being pulled into the wrong direction by bad faith actors. Andrew Colvett was never going rogue. You knew that. Every single evil thing that was done to me was done with your blessing. And I consider the onslaught of attacks that I had to endure, they were evil. Because you knew I was telling the truth, and you authorized people with an incredible amount of money to attack one of the few people in politics who was actually grieving your husband. You knew we had a deep friendship. You knew I was telling the truth about the Catholic thing, about everything. You allowed these people to lie and to say that Charlie and I hadn't spoken since 2019. I mean, it's crazy how much of a lie that was. You authorized it, and I now know that. The question is why? It was so cruel. It was so mean, right? Why impart that on someone who you know within a sea of snakes actually cared about Charlie and didn't want anything out of the organization? Maybe it's because I was like a loose end, one person that wasn't controlled by an organization. I'd just kind of proven that I'd rather lose everything to say something that I don't believe, least of all for money. I mean, maybe it's also because you have his phone. And when I revealed to the public that he had predicted his own death in remarkable detail, maybe you went back and you read the rest of those messages, the ones that I haven't yet revealed to the public, because in retrospect, those messages they're pretty terrifying because they're precise and it feels prophetic. Charlie was gifted. You know that. I know that. And the government most certainly knew that as well since he was a kid, which is why it was at least very interesting to me that you told the New York Times, something that most people didn't pay attention to, but you told the New York Times the night before his murder, Charlie's, and I'm going to quote this, you said that Charlie's adrenal glands were just going off. He couldn't sleep. I know enough about Charlie to know what that means. That means that Charlie was being bothered. He was probably having visions like he was in 2018, probably a clearer vision than the one that I had that you guys tried to mock, that danger was coming. And I'm going to go ahead and say that it wasn't about a Jezebel article written by some leftist. Please stop saying that because it's not true. I know Charlie, a leftist article didn't upset him in this way, didn't make him call a priest to pray over him. He thought someone was going to kill him. He did. He expressed that in writing, and you did not lose those text messages. You knew that. Charlie and I spoke a lot about his third eye. That's why that sentence caught my attention in the article.
So as you can see, just disdain, weird stuff. She's bringing up weird stuff, but she has a plan to connect it all. Most of all this is just lies. She hasn't proven any of this stuff. And she's expecting a person who's grieving, probably dealing with like plans and have to, when your husband dies, you have to actually do a lot of stuff, like there's a lot of stuff you have to do. So she's expecting her to drop everything, search through his phone for text messages to prove to her that this was that and that and that and all this stuff. So The whole thing is just ridiculous. Can you imagine, like, your husband gets publicly executed and then and assassinated, and then you just have to have this crazy woman demanding questions of you and raking you over the coals every day? It's just unbelievable to think that you would have to deal with something like this. And just to prove the point on how much Candace Owens just mocks people and is just vile and disgusting, this is a compilation of her mocking people like Erika Kirk and others.
Whoa! Whoa! Erika Kirk shuts down the No, she didn't even respond to one of the conspiracies. She gave us emotion. Like, you don't get to ask those questions. What's wrong with you, Mom? Are you so scared? My daddy is so rich, he can buy the world. I'm so rich. We are so rich. We can buy whatever we want. And so now we're just going to buy you, and we're going to make people like us because we can afford it. We can buy social standing. My life, is it going? Is it going? Okay, it's live. That's it. I'm so sorry. I don't know why this is happening. Wackadoodle. I actually wish they would put me on payroll so I could help them make these things look more organic than having every single person that has been telling us to stop asking questions all make the exact same video within 4 seconds of each other, being like, whoa, whoa, Erika Kirk shuts down the...
Okay, so moving on. The what of Candace Owens is easy. She's a political performer who tried on different personas before she became influential among far-right Republicans once Donald Trump rose to power. Her rhetoric about Israel fractured her relationships with more establishment conservatives and ultimately drove her in 2024 into the wilds of independent media. There, her reckless practice of populating fantasy content with real human beings has attracted attention and legal drama. When I published part 1 of this series in January, that content featured associates of Charlie Kirk, who had been fatally shot months earlier in what Candace had begun to speculate may have been an inside job. Since then, her assassination profiteering has grown sharper teeth. She sunk them into Erika Kirk, who now finds herself the star of a series that treats her as a suspect in the murder of her husband while the man charged with the crime appears in a Utah courtroom ahead of his trial. The who of Candace Owens is harder to know. The more you document other people, the less knowable people seem. Some people couldn't tell you who they are. Others might tell you that existence is the ceaseless project of establishing new answers to the question as we undergo imperceptible changes all the time. What can be verified? Who involves soul and psychology? With all the information and insight in the world, the answer could only ever amount to an educated guess. Candace Owens snapped at me in the year of the snake. It was a leap year that spanned 13 months in the lunisolar calendar, and its qualities sounded good. Renewal, regeneration, shedding what no longer serves you. In practice, though, it was a lot of pain, even when I believed it was for the best. It seemed appropriate that I found myself wounded by Candace in this period, even more so when I consider the irony that a false claim about the year of the snake, which is what led her to unhinge her jaw in the first place, to level false claims about me. Last March, Olivia Nuzzi arrived to my office in Laguna Beach, where I asked her to read the draft of a story about Candace submitted by a freelancer. Since I knew she would be a good judge of its integrity in fact and prose, I documented the scene in the 3rd installment of the series. So I'm not going to read all this, but basically Olivia read the proposed article about Candace by a freelancer this woman employed, and Olivia said, absolutely no way, don't do it. And then the freelancer got mad, and she went to Candace Owens and told a bunch of lies and said that Olivia and Jessica were like out to get her. You know what happened next? Lies, harassment, slander, and threats. Why bother with evil? I asked myself that question as I continued working on the series. There is so much happening right now, events that involve entire industries, governments, and the human race itself. Millions of documents circulate connected to Jeffrey Epstein and those with whom he associated, a fraternity with inordinate influence across the modern world. I have spent years on that story and still have more to say about it. My reporting on Epstein's cellmate, Nick Tartologine, a man condemned to life in prison for crimes he insists he did not commit, continues too. Elizabeth Holmes also remains incarcerated, separated from her young children, despite her claims of innocence and persecution by Big Pharma. She's locked up in the very prison in Byron, Texas, where Ghislaine Maxwell idles as the world parses her communications. The ugliness of the internet is exceeded by the ugliness of the geopolitical landscape. As the war in the Middle East grows more violent, and as fears are stoked that the conflict will only remain in the Middle East for so long. Meanwhile, there are few signs that new technologies will present solutions to old human problems. Instead, we are faced with accumulating suggestions that artificial intelligence will soon rival our own if it hasn't already. Mysteries multiply: drone sightings, airspace closures. An Arizona grandmother is still missing. Why spend so much time on one woman whose slander against me in the grand scheme of things is so small? The long tale of the Year of the Snake reached its end, and I considered those questions as Candace raised new ones about her latest object of scorn. She capitalized on Charlie's assassination to sow outrage and profit attention through an investigation that increasingly comes across as a vehicle to refashion professional disappointments and personal devastations into the heroic story of her crusade against evil. It started slow. She was, as she's prone to say, just asking questions. She had a right to do so as an American, an obligation to do so as someone who cared deeply about her friend. Miss Erika Kirk was how she referred to his widow then. Within a few months, the pretense of polite concern was gone. Her circle of suspicion contracted smaller and smaller. She suggested not only that the official story of the murder might be fake, but that Charlie Kirk, as we knew him, might have been fake too. His entire life and career a big false flag waving right in front of our faces for the entirety of his 13 years as a public intellectual activist. In some of her retelling of events, she robbed Charlie of his agency in order to portray him as a puppet too ignorant to recognize how he was being utilized for evil and too powerless to escape his matrix once he began to recognize the truth. As of this writing, since Charlie Kirk was killed, she has released 79 episodes of Candace on the subject, 8 of them from The Bride of Charlie. Her effort to raise, but almost never answer, questions about his widow. The 79 installments, an average of about an hour long each, have been viewed about 1 billion times on YouTube alone. Candace has staged this still unfolding spectacle as she fends off defamation claims related to another made-for-independent media investigative series. Her 2024 battle with the President and First Lady of France seems telling. Her efforts to get the case thrown out have thus far failed, meaning the conflict is headed slowly toward a courtroom, meaning her actions in public today, even about matters that don't directly relate to the Macrons, may be calibrated with that looming legal crisis in mind. Evidence that antagonistic tactics are simply her standard combat procedure, rather than rooted in any personal vendettas, could prove useful. She is just an aggressive pursuer of the truth. She could attempt to argue whether her subject is a stranger and a foreign dignitary or the widow of a deceased friend. Back in my office in Laguna Beach, Olivia and I sat at the same desk where she read the story I never published nearly a year earlier. We talked about the strangeness of having a false version of yourself introduced to the world by someone unconcerned with fairness or openly seeking to inflict harm, the strangeness of watching those efforts succeed at considerable personal or professional cost, and the strangest part of all, facing the dilemma of whether or how to explain or defend yourself without legitimizing the very efforts meant to debase you. It's an unusual subject to have any expertise in, and it's one Olivia knows well. Not just because, according to Candace, she isn't a writer whose career spiraled into scandal amid her entanglement with RFK, but a CIA or Mossad operative dispatched to secure blackmail on him so the two of us could control him on behalf of the allied states that secretly run the world, the deep state and Israel. American politics has negatively polarized and tribal for as long as I've been writing about it. I'm used to the incivility and I'm used to threats, Olivia said. But the threats prompted by her conspiracy about us were different because they were defensive. It seemed these people believed we were an active threat, not just to her reputation, but to her safety. I thought about the words she spoke on camera that led to the threats and the harassment directed at me, my family, and Olivia. Clean shot. The repeated use of both of our full names, the identifying details about the geography of our lives. Not something I would have advertised to people who saw me as a predator, rather than a human being whose minor children should be spared from online hate campaigns, and not something Olivia would have shared with just about anybody, since at the time only a few close friends knew she was living in a small West Coast beach town. Her verbiage was urgent and somatic, the stakes set somewhere near life or death. She offered imagery of being hunted by the two of us through a jungle as we tried to secure our clean shot. The racial subtext was powerful, and the fact she was, as she reminded her audience, 8 months pregnant, only amplified the stark narrative of her victimization at the hands of the two of us and the evil masters we serve. It hurt me emotionally and it hurt my reputation. It also hurt my business, which depends on trust. I struggled to process the experience and its aftermath. I asked Olivia the question I'd been asking myself: why bother with evil? My short answer is that we bother with evil because evil bothers good, she said. I asked her what her long answer would be. It's my view that when you're cast here as a witness, someone who helps shape our conscious reality by interpreting the world through creative acts, your assignment is to move peacefully toward the greatest good against the current of any oppositional force, external or internal. For instance, the implosion of the life I led. I see now that it stemmed from misalignment. I had been moving through the world under the false impression that public and private acts were energetically different, that a public lie was corrosive, but a private lie was just my problem within my custody, and that I controlled whether it reverberated beyond that realm. Energy doesn't work that way. Spiritual wars are waged in cumulative, microscopic battles. Every little thing matters. It was beginning to make sense. I started to think my experience with Candace was not a small distraction from larger stories, but part of how I might better understand them. Chaos rules and distrust is rampant, and some see in that confusion an opportunity to shape reality to serve themselves, at a great cost to the rest of us. It may be the case that who we are is what we do, and I can tell you that Candace Owens does. I can tell you what effect her actions have had on others and how my reporting uncovered what appears to be private perils she has channeled into public hypocrisy. By giving voice to some of those burdened by their firsthand experience with corrosive lies Candace has told, I hope to release them and anyone harmed by the culture of malice she perpetuates. Anyone who inflicts this much pain is usually in pain themselves. Looking deeper into her past, it becomes evident this is typically the root of her projections. The assassination of his legend and the reputation of his family continues to air on weekly afternoons and in viral clips that ricochet faster than their assertions and insinuations can be challenged. To move forward into the year, I had to part with what weighed me down. I am grateful the snake's time is up, but even more grateful for what it prepared me for. As the horse takes off running, I've decided it was time to shed this for good. Okay, we're going to take a break from the article there. Candace Owens has produced a multi-episode YouTube podcast series called The Bride of Charlie, which heavily scrutinized Erika Kirk, widow of Charlie Kirk, assassinated in 2025, and now CEO of Turning Point USA. Claims in this series Owens questions inconsistencies in Erika's biography and background, including details of her upbringing, such as single mother claims versus mentions of her father as a stay-at-home dad at times, birth date discrepancies in documents, pre-Charlie dating history and persona shifts after meeting him, links to her father's first wife, a psychologist with military corporate connections tied to controversial figures like John Money in gender studies, her mother's role and broader family networks in defense and tech. She explores strange stuff like Erika's childhood at Tesseract in Arizona and alleged MK Ultra adjacent connections, occult scholarship, German mystical Jews, time travel, Project Looking Glass, ancient Sumerian tech, CIA future viewing program, and Romanian ties to trafficking rumors. Audio of Erika Kirk shortly after Charlie's death, laughing, upbeat about merch sales at America Fest, which Owens calls off-putting. Broader suspicion about TPUSA direction, post-Charlie leadership, fitness, and motives around the assassination, pushing beyond the official lone gunman narrative involving Tyler Robinson. Erika's public response has been minimal, essentially stop in interviews with Barry Weiss. There was a mediated meeting between the two that didn't fully resolve things. Owens claims threats and silencing attempts from Erika's side or TPUSA. This has fueled division in conservative circles, with Owens fans and downstreamers pushing hard while others see it as exploitative, grief-stirring, or conspiracy overreach. Okay, so let's look at the Bride of Charlie trailer.
President Trump says that Kirk has died after he was shot from a nearby building.
After being shot at Utah Valley University.
The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead.
The cries of this widow will echo around the world like a battle cry.
I didn't even get to give him a kiss goodbye.
That young man, I forgive him.
Take your time.
Erika Kirk has been named the new CEO of Turning Point USA.
My husband's dead. Like, I'm not trying to be morbid, but he's dead. It's weird to say excited.
Describes her husband's funeral as the event of the century. Merch, hats.
We have 50,000 plus hat orders.
Nobody knows why she's out there in a glittering pantsuit in a recreated tent that her husband tragically was murdered in, throwing merch out.
Everyone grieves differently, so if someone's acting weird, don't read into that.
Zionists, the Prime Minister of Israel, all lied through their teeth about Charlie Kirk.
Her operation was in Constanta, the epicenter of Romania's trafficking scandal.
We are conversations to have with a 15-year-old. I'm going to touch your butt.
$8.6 million to their own shell company. What is going on?
We have nothing to hide. My aunt used to tell me, never do something that you don't want on the front page of a newspaper.
Okay, so much of that was taken out of context and just lies even, and a lot of the clips you saw from people saying those things were what are considered her downstreamers. Downstreamers are channels that are typically smaller that pick up things that bigger channels talk about, and then that boosts their views, etc., etc. And once this whole thing started, many people started becoming her downstreamers, and they have a lot to gain from doing what they're doing. Their subscriber counts went way up, and their views went way up. And whenever they're discussing the stuff that has to do with Erika and Turning Point USA, for some reason, the CRM, so like the rate of what they're paid per view is, per 1,000 views is much higher. So its CRM is cost, is it CPM? It may be CPM, cost per million, or cost per mil, which is 1,000. So cost per 1,000 views. Is much higher, like sometimes 3 or 4 times higher than other content. Okay, so smaller creators, reaction channels, and commentary pods and clip farms that pick up Candace Owens' Bride of Charlie series and related Erika Kirk TPUSA content, break it down episode by episode, add their own spin, conspiratorial layers, or what this really means analysis, and ride the engagement wave. These are true downstreamers, mid to small conservative independent channels, often 10 to 500K subs. They don't originate the big scoops, but amplify, react, clip, and monetize the controversy. They thrive on algorithm-friendly drama, serialized mystery, right-wing infighting, and high watch time comments and shares. So YouTube adds high view videos from this feud, tens to hundreds of thousands of views per video, can earn 1,000 to 10,000 per video at scale depending on RPM. Okay, so rate per million. $2 to $10 plus for political content. And I believe I heard one person saying that it was like $18, 18 to like $22 CRM. So the or RPM. So that is very, very high. That's higher than tech and finance. So tech and finance are the higher RPMs paid out on YouTube. They're in like the $7 to $10 to $12 range normally, whereas in other things can be as low as $2 to $4. So having an RPM of $18 to $22 is a lot. Okay. Super chats and lives, memberships, Patreons, and donations. Feud content performs well because it's polarizing. Owens fans defend her. TPUSA supporters attack neutrals. Rubberneck. So Jesse on Fire was one channel that started picking all this up when it was going down and went the very conspiratorial, like hating on TPUSA and Erika Kirk angle. So before all this happened, he had around 140K subscribers, and his typical videos would get in the tens of thousands of views, monthly views likely in the 500K to 2 million range on average. So his older earnings probably broke down to about $3,600 a month based on the 9,000K monthly views at $4 RPM. At 14 to 200K subs pre-feud, realistic monthly earnings were probably in the 2K to 10K range, low to mid thousands depending on upload frequency. RPM on MMA content is often $3 to $8. That was the content he was doing before all this. Now his channel has 622,000 subscribers, 153 million plus lifetime views. He posts frequently multiple videos a week with recent Erika focused content pulling 50K to 200,000 views each. So now with him covering this and getting all the views that he's getting, Social Blade currently shows strong recent performance of 100K to 300K views daily during hot periods. Monthly estimates are as much as 19K. So you go from making anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 a month to 19K. The Candace Erika series gave him and many downstreamers a massive engagement tailwind. Political drama conspiracy angles drive longer watch times, comments, and algorithmic pushes. Videos now routinely hit 50 to 200K plus views, multiplying potential revenue. So then I asked them to do Baron Coleman. Baron Coleman is one of the standout downstreamers riding the Candace Owens Erika Kirk wave. He's a former corporate lawyer who transitioned into full-time podcasting and has become a key figure amplifying the Bride of Charlie series and TPUSA controversy conspiracy with deep dive episodes, live streams, and investigative style breakdowns. So he was a longtime commentator with some radio podcast experience dating back years, guest appearances in 2015 on local political shows. He was primarily a corporate lawyer with a day job, not a full-time creator. His YouTube channel existed since 2011 but stayed small. Subscriber count was around 15K or fewer just months ago before the big explosion. He openly said his viewership was mostly family and friends. He had sporadic uploads, lower engagement, not a high volume channel, more niche conservative commentary philosophy without the viral fuel. His YouTube revenue before this would have been in the low hundreds to low thousands per month at best, with the typical less than 20K subs with inconsistent views. His growth has exploded thanks to the promotion of figures like Ian Carroll, and especially with his collab with Candace Owens, and went from 15K subs to over 160K very quickly, and is now sitting at 311,000 subscribers with 33 million total views. Recent videos routinely pull 200 to 300K plus views each, with live streaming hitting strong concurrent audiences 20K plus at peaks. His monetization boost is huge. Social Blade estimates put recent monthly earnings in the 17K range, with higher end possible during hot streaks. Plus, Super Chats memberships rumble, and his Erika TPUSA content drives sustained watch time, perfect for algorithm love and ad revenue. This is the classic downstreamer payday. Low overhead solo operation, no big team, turning controversy into full-time income. So he also makes like about $12,000 a week on Super Chats. So he went from a very small channel to covering this controversy and conspiracy towards Turning Point USA, and he's breaking it in. So I'm not saying like people can't make money on YouTube. Obviously, that's why we start YouTube channels, because we would like to, we not the only reason why, but this is a lot of work. Like, nobody wants to do this for free forever. They're hoping their channel grows and that they can make some income off of it. So I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that these people have incentive to do what they're doing, other than they just want to find out what happened to Charlie Kirk, like they say. So Wolf in Finances is another one who has just, their channel grew crazy, and they're making tons and tons of tons and tons of money off of it. His subscriber count was modest for years, likely in the low tens of thousands, under 50K, 100K range before the explosion. He's now at almost 500K subscribers, with hundreds of videos about Erika and TPUSA focused content. Huge uptick in monetization, his engagement, financial deep dives, feud drama, strong watch time, algorithm push, and ad revenue. Social Blade style estimates during hot periods put monthly earnings well into the high to mid thousands, probably close to 20,000 range, plus Super Chats and memberships. The controversy turned his niche accounting channel into a go-to source for follow the TPUSA money. And everything that he's saying is a lie. He doesn't have access to Turning Point documents. He's making up a lot of false claims, and I believe he's gotten a cease and desist letter too. That's what's so terrible about this, is that they're monetizing making up lies and hurting people's reputations and affecting real people's lives, because these are real people that they're making up all this stuff on. So that's sort of despicable. And it's crazy to me that we went through what we did, where we were all so touched by Charlie Kirk's death. It really affected everybody. And then now it's just this. This is what some of these people chose to do with that situation. Look, I'm going to be real honest with you guys. If I can't get people to subscribe or like, YouTube will literally send aliens to my house. Do you want me to be probed? I need you to like and to subscribe. Thank you. Okay, so one of the things that you saw them talking about there was the Romanian angels controversy that they conjured up. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, this one is so confusing. It took me a while to figure out, because there just didn't seem like, I couldn't even figure out what exactly they were saying. I knew they were saying she was tied to child trafficking and that she was kicked out of Romania, but I couldn't, there were the lines that the dots that they were laying out just didn't connect. So it was like hard to research what they were even talking about. So this is how they lay it out. A young, ambitious Erika pre-Kirk jets off to Romania in the early 2010s, right around the time the U.S. military presence ramps up in the Black Sea region. She's barely out of her teens, funding or running Everyday Heroes Like You and its flagship project, Romanian Angels. On the surface, it's heartwarming. American Marines and volunteers adopting orphans at Antonio Placement Center in Constanta. sending gifts, letters, and holiday cheer to kids in dire post-communist orphanages. Erika posts cute photos with her angels, thanking military brass like Colonel Otto Busher, and frames it as pure humanitarian work fighting trafficking and helping the vulnerable. But zoom out, as the storytellers say, Romania in that era was a trafficking hotspot, kids disappearing from villages and orphanages amid EU integration, chaos, adoption scandals, and organized crime. Romania Angels operate suspiciously close to a U.S. military base. Erika partners with Colonel Busher, who later faces accusations tied to running a brothel or child exploitation network involving military personnel. She publicly thanks him in videos and on her site. The downstreamers add layers. This wasn't charity, it was a potential front. Adoptions or gift programs could mask moving kids. Why the military ties? Why the timing with gambling, liberalization, and base expansions? Why the selective memory from Erika later? Candace paints it as a bigger web. Erika's family backgrounds, Arizona connections, possible intel adjacent networks, and post-Charlie silence or evasion on details. In episodes like What Happened in Romania, it's framed as an upside-down brain, the anti-trafficking covers that enable it. Downstream reactors amp it. She was ran out of the country. Epstein vibes. Turning Point USA. Grift meets international shady ops. It's tied into assassination questions, succession drama, and who really controls the movement. The storytelling is forensic and ominous. Clips of Erika laughing post-tragedy mixed with old Romania photos, voiceover questioning inconsistencies, and calls for her to come clean. It resonates as protect the kids while scrutinizing a powerful widow. So this is the truth of the matter. The project was real, but far smaller and more mundane than the drama suggests. Erika then Franze founded Everyday Heroes Like You, 2006 to 2007, as a 501c3 to support other causes. Romanian Angels, active 2011 to 2015, partnered with U.S. Marine Army personnel stationed in Constanta and a local group, United Hands Romania. Activities were delivering gifts, letters, and holiday items to kids at Antonio Placement Center, an orphanage, and a local hospital. Erika visited briefly with her mother for a couple of days, sponsored shipments, and promoted it on social media and her site as bringing the American heart to orphans. No evidence of actual adoptions or child relocation. It was sponsorship and gift giving. Fact checks from Snopes, PolitiFact, Lead Stories, and Romanian sources found zero credible evidence for trafficking involvement, accusations against the group, or Erika being banned or expelled from Romania. Romanian court documents and media show only positive mentions of gift donations. United Hands Romania's VP confirmed collaboration was limited, approved by local authorities, and supervised with no negative reports. Circulated evidence doesn't mention Erika or her organization or the project. So there were some things that were going on in Romania, and the articles written by that and the court documents don't mention her or her company at all. Colonel Busher ties appear in her old Thanks posts, but downstream claims of his convictions lack verified public links to her work. Romania did have a real child welfare trafficking problems post 1989. The orphanages there were just really, really bad, but Erika's effort was tiny feel-good auxiliary project amid broader U.S. military humanitarian outreach. No lawsuits, raids, or official probes tied to her. Claims exploded after Charlie Kirk's death, amid grief, secession, fight rumors, and online rumor mills. Classic pattern of old photos versus vague research fueling conspiracies. Okay, so I have a couple of videos we can go over about this specifically. And the reason why I'm focusing on this one so much is because this is just an example of them taking something very, very trivial and making it into the craziest thing, where they're literally saying she was part of a child trafficking ring, which is literally insane. So it was basically just a gift drive where they were getting their churches and people in their area to give things that were being wrapped and then sent over there. And these kind of operations, when churches do this are often facilitated by the Army or the Marines. It's a thing that they do. So this is nothing suspicious about that. The part with the military base that there was a complaint was just this one person that was like a secretary or something there that I think was from that country that just made up a bunch of allegations that were proven to be false and not true. So there were no anything going on with that. But we should have that explained in these videos. So let's check them out.
Today, the conservative group known as Turning Point USA makes its first trip back to Utah since its founder, Charlie Kirk, was killed there.
And Kirk's widow, Erika, leads the organization now and has been the subject of several rumors on social media. Paul Spey addresses one of them for PolitiFact.
Is Erika Kirk banned from a European country for trafficking children? Well, so some people are saying on social media. You can see a couple of the posts here. They claim that Kirk is banned from Romania after being accused of child trafficking. Is this right? No. What are they even talking about here? Well, before Erika Kirk got married to Charlie Kirk, she founded a group called Everyday Heroes Like You. That group had a project called Romanian Angels, which partnered with the Marine Corps and orphanages in Romania. Now, to fact check these rumors about Erika Kirk and her group, we looked for news articles and crime reports about this subject from both the U.S. and Romania, and we found some stories like these. An Israeli newspaper reported on adoption agencies that were under investigation, and an outlet called Radio Free Europe reported on orphans who say they were trafficked from Romania, but neither of these stories mentioned Kirk or her organization. In fact, we found no reports implicating Kirk or her group, and there's no evidence that she's been banned from any country. All of this is why the Truth Meter rates these rumors false. Read our full fact check at WRAL.com.
Tonight, viral claims say Erika Kirk's Romanian charity initiative, Romanian Angels, was tied to child trafficking, that a U.S. Army colonel ran a brothel on a Romanian base, and that the U.S. military took over the investigation. We pulled the documents and reporting. Here's what's true and what isn't. After Erika Kirk became more prominent publicly, old clips and posts resurfaced. A video where she thanks U.S. personnel in Romania and a Romanian article naming Colonel Otto A. Busher III and subordinate in alleged misconduct at the Mihail base. Then those posts then leapt to trafficking pipeline, ban from Romania, and a supposed U.S. takeover of the case. First, the Romanian articles. In January 2020, Romanian outlets and others published a complaint from Anna Maria Nucia, a translator at the base, alleging a brothel involving minors, naming Colonel Otto Busher and Lloyd Sparks. These are allegations reported by those outlets, not court filings. Second, a counter-investigation from Newsweek Romania argued the brothel narrative was built on speculation and got amplified by partisan sites. Again, this is media analysis, not a court verdict, but it directly challenges the claim. Third, case status. Reporting in October 2023 says Romanians organized crime prosecutors, DIICOT, the file about a clandestine brothel at the base was closed. No public ruling accuses Busher, Sparks, or U.S. forces, and nothing in the report implies or says the U.S. took over the investigation. Posts claim a U.S.-Romania treaty that let the U.S. military seize jurisdiction. There is a 2001 status of forces agreement that sets who has jurisdiction over U.S. personnel in Romania, standard for host nation deployments. But we found no official document showing a U.S. takeover of a Busher probe in this case. Now to Erika Kirk and her program, Everyday Heroes Like You, and its Romanian Angels initiative. Multiple fact checks and mainstream coverage says there's no evidence her ministry was accused by authorities of trafficking or that she was banned or kicked out of Romania. That claim is unsubstantiated as of today. Yes, there is a video circulating where Erika, then Erika Francevy, thanks Colonel Otto Busher for logistical support on the gift drive. I've posted the video below on my page for you to review. Thanking a base official does not equal complicity in alleged crimes, and no official investigation says otherwise. So where do we land? The brothel and trafficking stories are allegations in media disputed by other media, and the DIICOT file was closed. There's no proof of the U.S. military took over any Busher investigation, and no proof Erika Kirk or her charities were sanctioned, charged, or banned by Romanian authorities. But as always, did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments below and we'll go from there. I'm Ben Powers. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so basically what we have going on here is that they literally took stories that were going on in that area, trafficking, stuff like that, put it onto Erika Kirk because of this allegations against that base, which she wouldn't have known. Like, if you're doing a charity drive and a base helps you out with the logistics of getting your gifts that have been wrapped by your church to the children that you're donating it to, and a military base facilitates that, and then you thank that base, that is not you being complicit in anything that base has done prior or after their involvement in helping you logistically with that project. Okay. And that's basically it. That's what they did. And then I think later, as this story, they kept pushing around the story, a person came out and said that she was an orphanage at the place. She looks older than she wouldn't have been able to be a very small child, but I don't think anyway. But it doesn't really matter. So some woman has come out and said she was in this orphanage or an orphanage, and that Erika was the most feared handler and everyone was scared to come to her and things like that. Well, unfortunately, when things like this happen in the conspiracy world and allegations are made like this, lots of people come forward with stories about how they were the victim of such and such thing that's being pushed. This is a thing that happens even in murder cases. So when the police open up a tip line, they will get thousands and thousands and thousands of tips from people admitting to the murder, saying that their neighbor was the murderer, saying they were also victimized by whoever this could possibly, like, just story after story of like these loons that come forward to make up stuff. Just like with Mitch Snow, who's a pathological liar, this stuff happens in that situation too. So that person saying that, it doesn't make any sense because Erika wasn't working as staff at an orphanage. She was just there a couple of times, took pictures to put on their social media to get more donations, probably. Like, that's kind of what you do. She wasn't running an orphanage or, taking care of children in an orphanage, etc., etc. So basically, that's what that is. Okay, so Graham Allen did an interview with Tracy Martin, who is a very close friend of Erika Kirk, a family friend. Her and her family are friends with Erika and her family, and they've been friends for a very long time. And even she has come under the ire of Candace Owens, who made up a bunch of lies about her family and her husband and her daughter, and she got pulled into the conspiracy theory. And then her downstreamers made up all kinds of rumors that Erika Kirk was like grooming her daughter and stuff, just because there was a picture of Tracy's daughter and Erika on her birthday, and she had her birthday muffin or candle or whatever, little cake, and she was blowing it out, and her mom and Erika were kissing her on either side of the cheek. So they made like these big long stories all over the place about that. So he interviewed her, so let's see what she has to say.
What is truth? Is it feelings? Is it tips you heard from other people? Is it just saying whatever you have to say to make the money that you want to make? Candace Owens has made an entire career over the past 6 months saying her beliefs or her feelings or her tips that most often turn out to be lies in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. No one has felt the brunt of this more than Charlie's widow, Erika Kirk, and his children. I myself have been attacked along with so many others, so we finally started to decide to, how would Candace put it, ask questions about the very people that are just asking questions. Now, Candace Owens would have you believe that we're trying to silence her. We're trying to racially profile her. We're trying to cover up for something. But we believe in the truth. We believe in debunking the lies with actual facts, not hearsay, not a tip line. No, the actual people that Candace Owens is single-handedly ruining lives. This particular lie revolves around a family, a mother, a daughter, and a dear friend to Erika Kirk around a bad feeling. And Candace Owens turns this lie, this tip, this misconception of the truth into prior knowledge of an assassination attempt on Charlie Kirk's life. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I introduce to you Tracy Martin. Tracy,
Graham.
thanks for being here.
Of course.
Before we start, because a lot of people are going to see this and they're going to ask this is our first time meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
I haven't promised you any money. I haven't promised you any promotions in a company. We didn't pick our $7,000 checks up at the door.
I wouldn't take it anyway.
Yeah, it would take a lot more than that. No,
Yes.
I'm joking. Okay, so you reached out to me via Instagram, and I saw it. And at first, admittedly, I didn't know who you were. I didn't realize that you were the mom that Candace Owens has been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you is this: before we begin, this is going to be picked apart. We will be attacked by Candace and her, I call them the Canaanites. We will be attacked by them for this.
Yes.
Why are you here? Why would you put yourself through this?
Well, first of all, I believe that this is a moment in time to where we have to speak out at this point. It's gone on long enough. I have been a dear friend of Erika's for 15 years, and everyone that knows Erika in this circle has been through Charlie. You met Charlie, that's how you met Erika. It's been this way. And then I realized that having 15 years of lived experience with her, somebody needs to speak out on the character of who Erika is. And Charlie knew exactly who he was marrying. And God knew that Erika would be the woman that she is right now. And so I think when you realize that there is a truth to this, and being a believer, I believe that we do protect the people that are being attacked. And I think that it's time that, when you have truth and you realize that you have the voice to use it because there's nothing to hide. And Candace came after my family as well, and so you don't get to do that. And you don't get to have a platform and use it irresponsibly to destroy people. And you don't see the damage that you're doing because you're sitting in your studio and you're not on the receiving end of DMs, horrific accusations. And she went after my child.
Yeah.
So you just don't get to do that as a mother. I don't think anybody would stand by and watch that.
No, absolutely not. And I would argue that Candace doesn't care.
Oh, no, definitely not.
She doesn't care about who it hurts in real life. She doesn't care about real life consequences. Candace Owens will say, I didn't do anything wrong because I was simply presenting the facts or the tips as I got it in real time, which is her defense for cowardice. That is her defense across the board. I don't want to waste any time. People are here to find out the truth.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's where we are.
Yeah.
We're at a position where we have to combat lies with the truth. It's the only way. It is the only way. So Candace Owens went on this tear where she said, essentially, that you called your daughter, who works for Erika, the day before Charlie's, or very soon before, Charlie was murdered at UVU. That is what she said, and she has used that as a conspiracy that you had prior knowledge, potentially, of Charlie's assassination, that Erika definitely had prior knowledge of Charlie's potential assassination. Or she would say, I didn't exactly say that, but she insinuates.
Right.
And she has affected your family's life. Yes. So let's set the record straight, shall we?
Absolutely.
One, does your daughter in fact work for Erika, and how does she work for Erika?
So I will go back to how we got here.
Okay.
I think it would be, so people can track this. I think it's more important. So I posted a video 3 months after Charlie's assassination in defense of Erika's character. More than anything, I saw what was happening and I just was like, no. So I did the video, and then a few months after that, it was another video just talking about the climate in the world. I mean, with what I do in this world, with working with individuals and families, I see behavior and I see patterns. I recognize patterns really quickly. And so I was watching what was happening with Candace Owens. And so then all of a sudden, I'm with my mom and dad in Missouri, by the way. She did get that right. I was raised in Missouri. And so I was with my parents, and people were texting me going, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? I'm like, you guys, I'm with my mom and dad taking care of my older parents. And so I got on my phone and I was like, interesting. So all I see is photos of myself, photos of my husband, and she did use great photos, which I'm thankful for that. But it was basically, who am I? All of the implied framing that she does, not asking neutral questions. It's always implication. Who is this person? Well, what does her husband do? All the things. So just a rapid fire. Number one, was raised in Missouri, was raised with horses, definitely not raised wealthy. And the funny thing is all my life is out in a book, which has been out 2 years ago, and Erika wrote the foreword, it's just so ironic that this is all being played out. And then my husband is not a Border Patrol agent. We never lived in Tucson. She says she has paperwork with us purchasing a house from 2011. Never did that. And we didn't live in Arizona in the mid-'80s. So there's all these things that are, again.
So this is the thing that whenever I hear Candace Owens talking about, like, oh, this person is related to this person and they were doing this and this and this. I question it because as somebody who has done this type of stuff before, it is extremely difficult to pin down people to individual names to actual people. So like, say you're looking up somebody And the aggregation sites that pull all that kind of information together, they will pull several different people's stuff into like one profile because they're not like super accurate or anything. They'll pull in addresses that don't go to those people, cars, et cetera, et cetera. So you have to really, like, that's literally the first step. Then you have to like dig deeper and farther into it. And I don't feel like that's what she was really doing a lot of the times when she says some of the stuff that she's saying. So she could be talking about somebody that's not actually related or part of the story, but it's being aggregated into it. So this stuff here where she was saying she got a lot of stuff about me wrong is probably because when she ran her name, other people with her names stories and things that pertain to them were aggregated into her online profile when you're looking up people. So that is something, that's why I'm super leery about what she says when it comes to this kind of stuff. Well, when it comes to anything, but especially that stuff.
In her mind, this is what she has. And then she will say, well, I didn't say he was a Border Patrol agent. I thought he could be because he's very military-esque. Yes, we work out. I didn't own gyms. I owned one gym. And none of these things even matter in the whole conversation. But what it is when you deal with a conspiracy psychosis, you realize that you feed the narrative and then you're able to reframe that into any way you want to. So when that all came out, I was like, okay, knowing Candace, she'll be after somebody else, after a couple of days, we'll leave it go. Then she came back, and then she came back again, and she then brought my daughter in, and saying that we had this prior knowledge that you're speaking of, which is absolutely crazy. And so to address that was basically my daughter, it had been talked about that my daughter was going to start possibly traveling with Charlie and Erika months earlier. During the summer, they travel as a family. We had conversations.
What did she do? What did your daughter do before that? So they start talking to her about this, but what was her job?
Her job is for Proclaim Streetwear, which is the clothing line.
Erika's
brand,
line.
yes,
Okay.
that I actually helped her create. And just, that, and then Bible 365 Ministry.
So not Turning Point.
She's never worked for Turning Point.
Okay.
And so, and also Candace had said when I did speak with Candace, so I do want to say this. I reached out to Candace through a video.
Yeah, you had a conversation with her.
I reached out to Candace on a video basically saying, here I am. Okay, if you have these questions and you want to know what's going on and you really want the truth by someone who actually has the truth, I'm right here. I have nothing to hide. And she did send me a DM. And so I did reach back out. We had an hour conversation last week on Sunday.
So hold on. I'm sorry. I have to stop you. So what you're saying is Candace Owens defames you, lies about you and your family, and she reaches out to you, and you had a conversation with Candace Owens on the phone. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
So you and Candace Owens have spoken on the phone.
Yes.
I'm curious. I'm just guessing here. Was this in regards to this hit piece documentary that she's trying to put together for Erika Kirk? Was that your understanding of this?
So I think after being on the phone with her for an hour, I think that because there was a moment where she said, we are at an impasse. Which, again, just from what I do, an impasse means that we no longer agree. So, and then we're going to go our separate ways. And an impasse to me, whenever you decide to call me, my intention for the phone call was to set the record straight.
Right.
About the lies, about the defamation, about all the things that you were saying about my family, and especially my daughter, because you put people in harm's way with no regard. And so, but as the conversation kept going, I realized it was just basically to tell me that I didn't know Erika, that Erika was lying at every single point in time, and that she never loved Charlie, the relationship, all the things that we believe are opinions, right?
Right.
And so when that happened, when she said we're at an impasse, I said, yeah, we are. Because you have perceived information and created content. I have a 15-year lived experience with this person, and I know who this person is. And so that's when I realized that I truly believe that, and again, this is in Candace's own words, this is my opinion, I believe that it was just a call to come between Erika and I to try to, and I had no idea that this expose was coming up when I took the call for her. It was just, like I said, to right the wrong. I am a confrontational person when I need to defend and I need to stand up for truth, whether it's myself or someone that I care about. And I don't believe that I believe, like I said, it's very irresponsible.
So in the call, you said something very interesting to me. You said, Candace said to you, she didn't believe that Erika ever loved Charlie.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel when you hear something like that from Candace Owens? As someone who's known Erika for 15 years, so you've known Erika from the moment she met Charlie, all the way throrough their marriage, their children.
I remember the first day I met Charlie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That to me is it's the first time I'm hearing that Candace Owens truly believes, based off your conversation with her, that Erika never loved Charlie, and it's based off what?
It's based off a delusion, first of all,
Yeah.
because again, this is the lens that you see things through. But I was at Erika and Charlie's wedding. I mean, and unfortunately, I was at his funeral. I mean, the private funeral. And so I think that when you have someone that's outside that is trying to outright destroy someone, they will take any tactic that they can if they believe that it serves their actual narrative and purpose.
Wow.
And that's what I see happening. And these tactics are such psychological, warfare out in today's world. And that's honestly, too, Graham, one of my biggest reasonings why I wanted to talk about this was it's overarching. It's not just Erika and Charlie. It's Erika and Charlie today.
Yeah.
It was you. It was all kinds of people. And
Yeah, I'm a pedophile, according to Candace
I mean,
Owens.
do you understand the boldness that this takes to lie about someone to that type of a degree? I mean, that's where I know it's definitely the enemy at work. It's definitely spiritual battles. And the thing is when Charlie was assassinated, I still can't wrap my head around it, but when he was assassinated, this world experienced a revival. We had people I had clients, young clients, asking me for Bibles, asking me, hey, T, can you teach me this scripture? And I am by no means a theologian, but I am on fire for Christ because I know that the world needs him. And that's the other thing too, is this was hijacked. And then now you've got this collateral damage of Erika and people that care about Erika. And the reason why and again, I think I did insert myself in this because I did step out and defend Erika and her character.
But we should.
Yes, yes.
We are supposed to, as Christians, specifically the widows and the orphans. The Bible is very clear on this, as you should. And so I respect you for that, because very few people right now are doing anything to combat Candace Owens because they are.
Okay, so Graham just said there that the Bible commands us to care for the orphans and the widows, the fatherless, the widows. They are often mistreated in society, those two groups. Like it's a thing. It's just like a historical fact. And so so God tells us, reminds us over and over again in the Bible to care for widows and orphans. Let's look at something in regards to that really quick. Okay, so this is a post. Let's read it really quick. Let me make it big screen. So this is from Dana Lash's husband, mocking scriptures from a godly woman who was teaching the younger women, laughing at the correct reading of scripture does not bode well for the soul. As Dana Lash quoted from the word, you will know them by their fruits. Shame. So Dana Lash was at the Turning Point Women's Summit over the weekend, and she gave a fiery speech. And here is one of Candace Owens' lackeys online saying, mocking Dana's use of the scripture. So here, let's see.
And the widow. Defend the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Or the widow.
The widow.
Malachi
The
chapter 3,
widow.
verse 5. I will come to you. I will come near you for judgment. I will be and oppress the widow and the fatherless. Honor widows. James chapter 1, verse 27. Pure and
That's
undefiled
this is the
religion
Lord of the
before
Rings
God
clip.
and the
The
Father
Queen.
is to visit orphans and widows and a defender of widows.
Widows. Widows. Widows. The widow. You shall honor the widow. You shall worship the widow. I'm going to keep telling you, the widow. And you will see we are biblical here. This is it.
In place of a dark lord, you would have a queen! Not dark, but beautiful and terrible as the dawn! Treacherous as the sea! Stronger than the foundations of the earth! All shall love me and despair!
It's really sad. The commentator saying things about me. The widow coming after me. The widow. It really hurts. So if you want to support me, I'm a victim. I forgot to tell you guys I'm a victim. I'm a victim. I'm just really a victim. So if you guys could just support me, the widow, by going to CandaceOwens.com and buying a Stop Anti-Candaceism mug, I would really appreciate it. It's the way that you can show your support. And see you guys tomorrow.
Okay, so there you have Candace mocking the word of God, literally the word of God being preached whenever people preach the word of God, they do it fiery like that normally. Like that's how people, when they're preaching the word of God, do it. Like this isn't some weird thing, but she has an issue with Protestant type Christianity. So she's making fun of it because, Catholics don't do that type of stuff. So but I don't think she actually knows Jesus. But yeah, so she's been mocking the word of God. All of her followers have been mocking the word of God, now saying like, oh, they're telling us we have to worship Erika Kirk and all this stuff. So yeah.
So your daughter never worked for Turning Point USA.
No.
She worked for Erika, for Proclaim, and Bible 365.
Right.
Okay, at some point, and I want you to be very clear with
Yes.
this, at some point, Erika and Charlie start talking to her about perhaps coming along these college campus tours that Charlie does, and then you had an opinion on that.
Right.
What was that opinion, and then when did that conversation actually happen?
So again, she does Bible 365 and Proclaim. She does work down sometimes at the headquarters, so she's in the building. She doesn't do anything for the Charlie Kirk show, which is what Candace said, that she had proof of that, and none of that's true.
Her being in the building is proof that she works on the Charlie Kirk.
So no, she does not work. And do they ask her to do something? I don't know. I'm not there every day, but I do know what she did. So the conversation came. We're in a very intimate place because we've been in their home. We're with their kids. I mean, and all the information about Erika not giving, just crazy stuff, not being pregnant. It's so crazy. So we have the intimate knowledge, right? And so we're there, we see it. And so there was conversation about my daughter starting to travel with those guys. Never said anything about a campus tour or this was absolutely what this was. It was a conversation of traveling. This happened during the summer, which is when Charlie and Erika travel as a family. So I didn't have any conversation back and forth with Erika. And so the day that the assassination happened, I was in my coaching studio with my clients back to back. And as you can imagine, people knowing my relationship with Erika, my phone going off, conversations, phone calls, text messages, just boom, boom, boom. I had clients that some knew Charlie, some were distraught. I mean, it was just a very emotional day, to be completely honest with you. I had an appointment that I canceled with my hair person, and then I had a friend of mine that was going to come in and take a book. I don't know if this is this person or not, because again, Candace has not produced anything for me at all, even though I asked her for it. And so the text message or the conversation was that I had prior knowledge. And so spinning that, which was basically my emotions of, oh my gosh, what if my daughter would have been there? I didn't know where Erika, go ahead.
So no, I don't want to stop you. So, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so basically what this whole story is that because people are just sending stuff into Candace, I don't know why anybody would be doing this, but somebody who knew her, like either her hairdresser or somebody that she was meeting with that day, she told her, oh my gosh, what if my daughter would have been there? I would have been so worried, for her to have seen all that or whatever. And because she had been, possibly there was talk about her going and traveling with them, but she didn't end up doing it. So in her mind, the first thought was like, oh my gosh, what if she would have ended up doing that? And then she says, I had reservations about her going and doing that because it's kind of dangerous. And so Candace spins that into, you must have had prior knowledge because you stopped your daughter from going on the traveling circuit with them in the summer or whatever. So this is how she makes these connections in such crazy, tenuous ways. It's unbelievable.
And just because I know how her audience works. So just to back this up before we go back to that, in the summer, there were conversations of your daughter potentially like adding to her role and or doing more traveling. And you didn't even know if it was the campus events in general. And you expressed some reservations potentially to your daughter in the summer.
Exactly.
So not days, not weeks before, months before
reviewing like her job, what she was doing, are you happy, can you be an asset, are you valuable, those types of things. It's just how I am as a mom.
Okay.
And then that was the conversation. And so it was a what if moment of, and like I said, doing what I do, my what if was not just safety for Erika and all of them. I mean, the volatile world that we live in.
Oh yeah.
It's not
I've been to those campus tours with Charlie.
And I've heard firsthand the threats. I mean, we've talked about those, the threats, the kidnapping threats, all the things that they were living with on a daily basis. And so my mind as a mom went, I don't want you to go. I don't want that to be part of your role, is basically what it was. So that day of the emotion, my mind went to, what if my daughter would have been there?
The day when Charlie was murdered. So we jump months ahead of time.
Correct.
You're at work, you find out about Charlie being murdered, and then someone is there that you just are outwardly saying, can you imagine if your daughter had been there.
Just as a mother thinking not only the safety, but what would that have done to her to witness that? You know, the impact of that, the imprints that happens on someone's psyche. It was all of the things that my mind just went to that moment of what if. And so, and then even like with Erika, I didn't know where Erika was at the time.
Right.
And so, and then I know Erika was with her mother.
Yeah.
And so, and I was not, that was another thing that Candace said on her call. I was not with Erika that day.
Yeah.
I was not with her. And so, you know, it's as a mother, you right away go to worst case scenarios. No different than if you have a bad feeling about something and your daughter starts to beginning, well, I don't know if this is a good job for you. I don't know if this is, you know, what does this job entail? What are these types of things? And so it became that type of a mental track that I'm like, oh my gosh, what if she would have been there? What she would have seen? What would have happened? And then my mind went through, you know, she's safe, she's good. And so this person is basically a friend that I was like, you know, venting to. And so I think that when something is taken out of context, plugged into a narrative and then ran out, I can see where people get twisted on this. And it's very manipulative, but there's no context.
Yeah.
You know, and whoever this person is, if this text exists, you know, you could have easily said, can you clarify this?
Yeah.
You know, this was a crazy emotional day for everyone, and especially since my family's very involved.
No, I agree. So it works for Erika's say, and this conversation that you had with your daughter on and
this is the conversation.
With audience, just right. Candace Owens has been on a tangent that Erika's alibi is falling apart. I want to be very clear. There is no alibi. Erika Kirk is not a suspect in any shape, form, or fashion in any way. This is simple truth versus not truth, events versus things that never happened. I want to be very clear about this. Candace Owens is saying that Erika was not.
Okay, so because Candace Owens has been insinuating that Erika Kirk had something to do with Charlie Kirk's murder, either she knew it was going to happen, she's covering it up, or she planned on it to happen because she's benefiting so much, which is also dubious. It's a nonprofit organization. She's benefiting the exact same way she is now, as if Charlie would have been alive, but they make all these insinuations to that as well. But because she's been doing that, people keep saying crazy stuff like this. So these are X posts. You can't accuse Erika of murdering her husband, Charlie Kirk. Someone who has never seen a murder documentary where the spouse is always the suspect and usually the culprit. Erika is fine. She doesn't need protecting. Charlie, however, does need justice. The spouse is always the suspect in an assassination, so she's fair game. The spouse is not always the suspect in an assassination. I don't know where they got that from. Sounds like, I think they meant murder. Sounds like Erika Kirk, to be honest. It's weird how spouses are the highest likely suspect, but not for Charlie Kirk. Her hardest critics are widows. The first suspect in a murder case is usually the spouse, unless it's the great untouchable Erika Kirk. Widows conspire to kill their husbands a lot. 75% of homicides are by a spouse or family member. Spouse is number one suspect in context of Erika. If Erika is innocent, the spouse is always the suspect and the most interrogated. Elite don't get freebies. The trope is very common in the Owens downstreamer circles. It's repeated as a standard true crime talking point to justify scrutiny of Erika as widow and CEO successor. You'll see variations like in every murder documentary, the spouse is suspect, or statistically, the spouse is number one, tied directly to her. These posts span months and show the narrative is widespread among critics. Okay, so anybody that's logical and has a thinking brain and hasn't had this propaganda, this priming of just hating Erika Kirk put into their mind by Candace Owens and the ones that come after her, or by Candace Owens and her downstreamers, would know that yeah, oftentimes the spouse is a suspect until they're not, so they're looked at or whatever. But in a public assassination where they have literally the person that did the assassinating turn themselves in, and then they do the investigation looking into said person, all their data, the video, the phone, all their records, tracking them for months and months, their life, all their electronics, all their phones, everything. And there's, why would they then, there's nothing to connect to Erika. It's not like a murder where somebody goes missing, like oftentimes the wife will go missing and there isn't a body and it's suspected that there was foul play. and you have to do an investigation, and therefore you have to investigate all the people around them, including their spouse, or you find a body like in a trash bag somewhere and you have to figure out what the heck happened to them. That's not what this is. Like, this was a public assassination. So these little things that people are saying like that are so illogical and low IQ. It's unbelievable. But that's what Candace pushes out along with her downstreamers. So it's crazy. It's infuriating too, because it's so dumb. It's the dumbest thing. And so they'll come at you with that, like, oh, how dare you? How dare you be mad that we're harassing and torturing this woman whose husband was brutally murdered in front of all of us? Because don't you know that in murder investigations, the person most suspect is the spouse? And Candace has even said, like, that Erika's a black widow, that Erika should write a book like O.J. Simpson, How I Did It, and all this stuff. So that's why her audience, who must be made of, like, the dumbest people in our country. I mean, I'm not joking. This is the dumbest stuff I've ever seen in my life, and this conspiracy theory is also the dumbest conspiracy theory I have ever seen in my life. Okay.
With her mother, who, as I understand it, is very sick.
Very.
Very sick. And admittedly, you're right. My relationship was always more with Charlie. Respectfully so. Why would I talk to her all the time, the wife of my friend? I always talk to Charlie.
Right.
So I wasn't as aware how unwell Erika's mother is.
Yes.
Candace Owens has been saying that Erika was not with her mother on the day that Charlie was assassinated. Is that true? Is that not true?
Complete lie on Candace's part. It is there's verifiable information that she was with her mother at treatment.
Okay. Now, when you say there's verifiable information, what do you mean by that? What do you mean when you say there's verifiable information?
Verifiable information from sources, from the clinic, from places like that can verify that she absolutely was with her mother. There's photos, there's timestamps. I have a text message. It's undeniable. And I think the thing with Candace is that to say those things, she said on my call that it's verified that Erika was there on the 8th. I'm like, no, she was actually there the morning, the day of. And that was a conversation with her and Charlie that home needs you, your mom needs you,
right.
You need to take care of your mother. And that's what Erika has done, because to your point, I don't think people realize the depth of Lori's illness. And that was something that Candace kind of pushed back on when we called. She said, well, I know she was diagnosed with this, and I know they had treatment. Even Candace's place of where Lori had treatment was incorrect.
Right.
So there's all these things that yes, she was with her mother. I was not with Erika that day. She was with her mother. It's verifiable from the clinic, from backing up text messages from other people. We know that's where she was.
So
very confident in that.
So you know that there is confirmation from the clinic that Erika was with her mother on the day that Charlie was assassinated.
Absolutely.
This is absolutely, like, that right there tears apart everything that Candace Owens is trying to lie. And I think as we continue, I'm kind of taken back by it a little bit. And I would say this, like, I'm sure that people are going to watch and you're going to say, well, where's the evidence? Show us the evidence. Well, I would say this, call us on it, Candace. We dare you. Call us on it. Let's see what you do. Moving back to the conversation.
Yes.
And I want to drive this home as we continue to debunk these lies. If Candace will bold-faced lie about these things, then, and this goes out to the people that watch her, how can they trust her to be truthful about anything?
Well, and I think if you look at the timeline of all this stuff from when, like I said earlier, when there was a revival and she kind of hijacked that movement with trying in her mind of, I'm just seeking truth and asking questions. I gave her truth that she did not want. Even there's a video out there about her. She said that Erika and Charlie had an argument the night before. And I said, that's not true. And she said, yes, it is, because they woke up their daughter. And I said, well, have you been to their home?
How would was she in the bedroom?
Well, that's my point.
How would she know?
And I told her, I said, have you been to their before? And I said, that's not true. And she said, yes, it is, because they woke up their daughter. And I said, well, have you been to their home?
How would she?
Okay, so this part of this is so crazy. So Candace Owens literally just made up a whole scenario about Charlie's last day, the morning time, and the night before. So the night before, Erika had said on some show, before she knew everyone was going to attack her and take every little word she said way out of context and be crazy, she had said that he couldn't sleep. He was up moving around. He got up to get a snack. Then he woke up the daughter, and the daughter wanted, everybody who has kids know that sometimes when they wake up at night, they want to get in bed with you, or you have to lay down with them for them to go to sleep. And so Charlie said, just have her go in your bed and I'll go lay in her bed. Obviously, the daughter probably has a full-size bed. My kids have all always had full-size beds, because why would you waste money buying a tiny little bed that they're going to grow out of soon? So I've always bought full-size beds for my kids. So obviously she had a full-size bed. Then Erika says in the morning she didn't get to say goodbye because he just came in and got his ring and his necklace out of the bathroom by the sink, and then he left instead of waking them up. So Candace made up a whole story saying that they must have gotten into a fight the night before because it woke up the child, and then he left in the morning without saying goodbye to her angrily and just went and grabbed his stuff while she was still awake, laying with the kid, and knew he was awake and just heard him take his stuff because she didn't want to talk to him because they were mad at each other because their marriage was falling apart. And that's why they had to see some priest, which, is all just crazy narrative that she's made up, right? So that's what this is in reference to.
Was she in the bedroom?
Well, that's my point.
How would she know?
And I told her, I said, have you been to their home? Do you understand this? Do you understand how small the home is? And I said, because I have. I've been there multiple times. And she said, well, I just know that that's not true. And I'm like, well, it is true that Erika wanted Charlie to get a good night's sleep. And if he walks past his daughter's room, he absolutely would be in the kitchen and could easily wake her up. But the thing that's so crazy about this, Graham, is that these are lifestyles that don't matter. But it's another explosive thing that she thinks she has to incite emotional chaos with people that their brain automatically goes to trying to fill in the blanks. This is human behavior 101. And so, they didn't have an argument. And Erika, I could have woken up their daughter if I was in the kitchen. These are the things I think that people don't, they just go, oh, there's more, oh, there's more, oh, there's more. And human behavior, like I said, our brain will fill in those blanks when you are in this conspiratorial psychosis. Yeah. You absolutely will.
Candace is framing it the way that I've seen her frame exactly what you're talking about. She frames it as though Charlie woke up their daughter, and somewhere in between, Erika was like, well, just go sleep in the daughter's room. Mm-hmm. What seems to have really happened is the daughter came into the bedroom, their bed, which is something that happens to 99.8% of parents. And everybody who has kids knows that if you've got something important to do that day, you're not sleeping because kids are like bowling pins all over in the bed. So that's when Erika said, you go sleep in her room. Correct. And because I believe he had an early flight that next day. Yep. That is a completely different, that key little bit of context. Again, Candace Owens is leaving that out, leaving it out.
I think leaving it out is what seeds the doubt and the implication for other people to fill in the blanks. So that is her job. Even on the video, she says these kids are sleep trained. A toddler should be in REM sleep.
Because she has a night nanny. That's why I'm saying that.
I'm sorry. I've raised kids and I'm a grandmother of 2 grandsons. So I can tell you right now, good luck with a toddler.
I haven't slept in 15 years.
You're not going to, trust me. It doesn't get any better.
I haven't slept in 15 years. Yeah. And so when I heard her say that, it immediately went, rich, elitist, night nanny mindset. I wouldn't doubt that after, outside of breastfeeding, and this is my opinion, Candace Owens probably has a night nanny. She probably didn't wake up. We don't know, but who knows? I don't know, but if she can conclude that because the daughter woke up, they had a fight, well, I can conclude if you don't know that 3-year-olds wake up at 2:30 in the morning, you obviously are not getting up with your children. But
it's life.
Yeah, let's digress back into some more of these things here. And I want to ask you, because to your point, you have 15 years of knowing Erika. I hate to bring this one up, but I have to. Candace has now gone on this thing that Erika is some sex trafficker with this Romanian charity organization and things like this. And I bring this up because, to my understanding, you were involved in this. Yes. Can you explain to us in very layman's terms what this charity was? Because as I understand it, it was more of like a Toys for Tots type thing than anything else. Can you just can you help us debunk this? Erika was involved in this Romanian child sex trafficking scandal.
It's getting so crazy. So the Romanian Angel Project was part of one of her projects underneath her LLC that she has a nonprofit for, because it was not just one thing, it was multiple things that she wanted to actually be involved in and help. And so she came to me and she's like, hey, I want to do this. There's an orphanage that we can go and we can find out their needs. And again, I've said this to people, well, don't you think you know what their needs are? No, I don't. And I want to make sure that we're getting them something. I don't know how these kids live in Romania. Okay, I know how kids live in here and they're entitled, but I mean, they're simple things. It was, toothbrush, games, books, MP3 players, I think, and coloring things or whatever. And it was a list. And so we got the list And then families, there's multiple people that would donate or would be a part of it. And so we would go, and my daughters would go with me. And the thing for me as a mother was just that I wanted my girls involved in this. And I trust Erika explicitly with what she chooses to get behind. And I want my daughters to experience helping someone else. And so we would go, we'd purchase the gifts that were on our list. You would pick either a boy or a girl or whatever it was. And we go, and then we intentionally created a tether, I guess. So I would buy specific Christmas wrapping paper. And then my daughters would wrap the paper. And then once these gifts were delivered with the help of the military, because we couldn't ship direct.
Yeah, the Marines were involved in this.
Exactly. So, and we packaged.
Seems like very verifiable stuff, Candace, but either way.
I know.
Go ahead.
So we would wrap everything up. We had a day, at Erika's house or where Lori lived. And so we would wrap everything up. It was a day. Everyone was there, prayed over all the gifts, just wanted it to make an impact. And then they would go. And I never went to Romania. I wish I would have gone to visit, but I never did. My kids were younger then. And so she would send a video back of this actually being done, which I know she did that because she wanted things to be.
It's on YouTube. I've seen it.
Yes.
It's like 12 years old video.
Exactly.
It's on YouTube.
It's been there forever.
Yeah.
And then my kids, selfishly, my kids would see the video and they would see their Christmas wrapping paper. And they were like, we did that all the way around the world.
Yeah.
And so, but you don't get to hijack something so amazing as what this was. And that was Erika's heart. And her 501c3 was started out of the death of one of her friends, as a teenager. So this is her heart, you know what I mean? And so the Romanian Angel Project is interesting because people interject all the child trafficking, all the sex all the things, right? Has nothing to do with what she did. Does it happen around the world? It happens here in Phoenix. So yes, it does. And it's horrific. So if somebody's worried about that, get involved locally.
Yeah. Atlanta is one of the biggest hubs of sex trafficking here in America. So everyone who lives in Atlanta is a sex trafficker.
Right. Proximity is
is all these things. And not to downgrade the charity at all. I think that's amazing what it was. But
it's not that deep.
Correct, right? Like, the way it's been is this super in-depth, lots of money exchanged and all this other kind of stuff. It sounds like there was no money exchanged.
No.
And it was just people, almost like, what do they call it at churches where you take the name off the tree?
Christmas angel.
Yeah, Christmas angel.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it seems very similar to that.
And just that time of the year. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes things aren't that deep. You know what I mean? Sometimes they are really simple.
Yeah.
And that's what this was. It was just a simple thing to be able to give back. That was literally it. And those of us that were parents in it, we wanted our kids to see it. And so that's where, and the conversation of, like what you said a minute ago, throwing around the money and all that kind of stuff, that muddies the water of what the mission actually was, because there was no money.
Right.
There was nothing involved in any of this at all.
Well, Ms. Tracy, I appreciate your bravery in all this, but I have to ask you a personal opinion question to end this thing out. I've reached out to Candace multiple times. Text the number I had for her multiple times, figured, well, maybe she's changed her number. So I reached out to a mutual friend, Brandon Tatum. I said, Brandon, will you give this message to Candace? This was months ago. I was like, I need to understand. I just want to understand why she's doing what she's doing. She's never spoken to me, but she's spoken to you. So my question to you is, I don't believe that Candace secretly loved Charlie and all that. I believe that she loved the power that Charlie potentially had, in my opinion.
Right.
I do not believe she actually wants the truth in what happened to Charlie Kirk. I believe Tyler Robinson, my personal belief, should get the death penalty, and his justice is coming. Again, my belief. Why do you think Candace is doing what she's doing? After speaking to her, why do you think that we are where we are having this conversation right now?
And again, it's my opinion as well, but observing after the phone call and the behavior, I just think she wants to destroy Erika, and I think she wants to destroy Turning Point. I honestly do. I think that it's a combination, and it may not even be that deep for her. There's money involved. She's making a lot of money off these podcasts. And then she brought up, well, Turning Point's making a lot of money. They should. Charlie paid with his life.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what her intention is. I asked her what her end game was, and she said to find truth. And I said, if that's the case, do you have the humility, and this is my thought, that you possess to pivot and right this wrong? Because ultimately I believe that if you are in that position and you find out information that is true and factual, which is what you say you want, when you have that information in front of you, you have a responsibility then to right the wrong. And so, and I actually asked her that just to throw this in there. I asked her that on the phone call. How are you going to right the wrong against my family? And she said, I will instantaneously put a message out. And that didn't happen.
Whoa, okay. All right. So on your phone call with Candace, you debunked certain things.
Many things.
And she said on the call that she would, like in a week, immediately.
Instantaneously was the word.
She said she would instantaneously make a correction. And as of the time of this filming, when did you speak to her?
Last Sunday.
Last Sunday. So as of the time of this filming, she has not kept her word.
No. And she did say she was not filming this week. And I'm like, well, it doesn't take rocket science
But
to put a message
she
out.
said she was going to put a post out.
Instantaneously, yes. And the other thing that I addressed to her was about other people that are doing what she's doing, and the gentleman, Stu Peters. And he has taken her content and included myself in all of his content as well, and done all these bashing. And I said, your friend Stu is doing the same thing that you are doing. And she said, well, he's not my friend, but I would be happy to reach out to you if he's giving you headaches. That didn't
Reach out
happen.
to him. Okay,
To,
all right.
to stop, because we realize these are not connecting the way that you want them to connect, or her words are tracking.
So I guess my biggest question is, if Candace can't keep her word about something as small as putting an X post out to correct something, how can the viewers that watch Candace trust her to do anything?
Well, and especially I'm a little peon. I'm a nobody. It's just that you picked the wrong person, because I don't believe you get to do this, and so I don't believe that there is a core of honesty to actually right these wrongs and to turn things in the right direction, to seek truth if that's what you want. So the instantaneous message didn't come out. It didn't right the wrong, and that's why I reached out to you, because I needed to do this for myself and for Erika, and ultimately for Charlie, because I think you are degrading Charlie's legacy by doing this to his wife.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, so like I was saying about the downstreamers, they take what Candace says about Erika and Turning Point USA, they add to it, they embellish, they make it even more. And this woman was a victim of that, her and her family. And Candace talks to all these people. They have group chats. Some of them she was on calls with, because we found out because one of them got upset with her and started talking about that. And then another one, realized she was lying and stuff, and he came out and he released a call audio he had with her. So and he was a very small account, so she's talking to all these people, planning this stuff with them or giving them information, run with this, whatever, whatever's going on. There's communication. So that's the Romanian thing. And I played this because these had a lot of the lies that she made up about Erika. And if you're listening to this and you're like, what, this is it? This is the big thing that's making everyone be so weird. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's all just crazy stuff like this. Okay, so this is a list compiled by Candace's side of all the lies that Erika has told, and so let's go over it together, shall we? Okay, Erika lied about being with her mother and collapsing in the parking lot after hearing about Charlie Kirk being shot. So this is where Erika, she was at where her mother was being treated, and she talked, of course she probably collapsed a little bit in the parking lot, or whatever, but because Candace said that nobody reported to her that happened, that somebody would have seen it if she was in a parking lot, and therefore she would have heard about it because of her tip line. So then Candace said that wasn't true. So that's not Erika lying. That's Candace saying she is lying without any proof. How could somebody prove that anyway? Lied about not dating for 5 years before Charlie. Lied about playing college basketball for 2 years. It was 1 year. I'm sorry, you guys. So these are the reasons why Erika Kirk has to be demonized and treated this way, okay? Just keep this in mind. Lied about a witch putting a curse on Charlie and him being scared of it. Lied about Charlie's steel neck. Lied about Charlie's messages that he was going to be killed. So the Charlie steel neck thing, that was just an antidote that the surgeon said that they put out to comfort people very shortly after Charlie was passed. And clearly the neck did stop the bullet, because it didn't go through, as we have evidence of. So the neck did stop the bullet, and it wasn't really the neck, it was the spine. And this is a common occurrence in bullet wounds that go into the spine. They often fragment, and when they hit the spine, it's just a thing that happens quite often. Lied about Charlie's messages that he was going to be killed. Sent fake photos as an alibi for 8th September. Lied that she arrived home at 5:24 on the 8th and made dinner for Charlie. So all this is just, okay, the fake photos as an alibi, that's not true. They weren't fake photos. They're all just saying they were fake. Lied that she arrived home at 5:24 on, I don't even know what this is talking about. I think it's because she said something about he had a what is it called? When an appearance on like Fox News or whatever that evening. And then Candace was like, oh, that was in the afternoon. So you're lying. But there was actually one in the afternoon and one in the evening that day. Lied about waking Charlie up on the 9th for an interview. He was at the office. Erika and Justin lied to Candace's face about Pierre Falcon and his mega donation. This is again just coming from Candace. We have no proof of any of that. Lied about someone random entering her in a beauty competition. She was competing in pageants for years. Lied Charlie's book was finished in July. He said he was working on it in August. Well, the book could be finished and you're still working on doing stuff for the book. Lied about going to China to help trafficking victims. She was with her boyfriend. So this is something in her past that they're dragging out and making into a big deal. Lied about her education at ASU. She didn't lie about that. They're just saying she did. Lied about her education at Liberty University, lied about which plane Andrew Colvett was on, lied about what time she found out that Charlie Kirk was dead, lied about the Doge-style audit that Charlie ordered just before his death, lied about reading the Bible cover to cover in 2008, also says 2016, never seen communicating with Charlie's parents and family. People who have nothing to hide, hide nothing. Rest in peace, Charlie. Sorry you were betrayed. I mean, I honestly, like, just reading that, I don't know what to say. It's so ridiculous. Okay, so this I might have to screenshot to make bigger to be able to read it. Okay, Gish galloping. Candace's Trust Me Bro allegations against Erika Kirk debunked. Gish galloping is a debate tactic where someone floods the conversation with many rapid claims, weak points, and half-truths, making them harder to fact-check one by one. Lied about being with her mother and collapsing in the parking lot after hearing Charlie Kirk shot. Zero evidence provided, just speculation, unless someone proves that she was not with her mother and nor did she collapse. Lied about dating for 5 years. Missing context. Erika's point was that and these are all, this isn't something she said recently. They're going back in the past and pulling up like speeches she's given at Turning Point USA and stuff, and then taking like little things she said and then checking her like life story to see if they were true or not. So she said to like some students to wait to date, and that she did when she was in New York because she didn't like the dating scene. Okay, so missing context. Erika's point was that she avoided dating in New York because her roommate's dating experiences showed her how bad that scene could be. That does not automatically mean she never went on dates at all or never met anyone outside that New York dating context. Being on a reality show also does not prove she dated anyone in New York. It was a scripted show. The basketball thing, not proven to be a lie. College basketball season like 2007 to 2008 can involve training, practices, team activity, and competition across parts of 2 calendar years. Even if she only played 1 recorded season, calling that a lie is a stretch. Lied about a witch putting a curse on Charlie. Zero evidence provided, just rumor and speculation without proof. The lied about the steel neck thing, not proven to be a lie. She closely paraphrased what the doctor communicated. Candace is the one claiming the doctor denied saying that, but that is still trust me, bro evidence unless the doctor publicly verifies it. Unless someone proves Erika knowingly misrepresented the doctor's statement, this is not a verified lie. Lied about Charlie's messages that he was going to be killed. Not proven to be a lie. She clarified to Candace that the messages were on Telegram Signal, not in regular text messages. She didn't have to say that to Candace, but in good faith efforts, she met with her in person, and Candace had already known about Mitch Snow and Fort Huachuca before meeting Erika in person and didn't ask Erika for an alibi while they were together. She's held information and released it before verifying it. So there was a message, and it's debated on when this message was, but it was like, they're gonna kill me, or something. Like, he talked about the left all the time doing this. And so Candace was told that or something, I don't know. And then Erika said that she doesn't see it in his phone because it was in a different messaging app and not just his normal text messages. So they attacked her for that. Sent fake photo as alibi for the 8th of September. Not a lie, Erika provided Andrew a photo taken on September 8th from a play date. The confusion comes from Andrew saying Erika and the kids while the faces were covered, and people assuming that meant Erika's 2 children. It was her eldest daughter with a play date. That is not proof of fake photos. Also, she's still with her kids. Just because she takes a picture of her kid and another child doesn't mean her 1-year-old isn't off off the screen, like not in the picture. So he's still with her. So she's still with her kids. That one drives me crazy. Lied that she arrived home on 5/24 on the 8th and made dinner for Charlie. Zero evidence provided, not verifiably proven. Lied about waking Charlie up on the 9th for an interview. He was at the office, not proven to be a lie. Charlie did have an early Fox interview from his home office. Also, how would Candace prove Erika did not wake him up? This is speculation. And so this just goes on and on. I will leave this in the description box. I'm not going to try to keep reading all the small text, but literally this is why everyone is mad at her. That, and she wore sparkling pants and had pyrotechnics at the next TPUSA event to honor Charlie Kirk. She is a pageant woman. She doesn't have to change everything about her personality just because her husband died. They complain about her rings that she's always worn that are her kids' initials. She's always worn them. Why does she have to change? This is like asking somebody who's been through a traumatic event. Changing, like you shouldn't cut your hair off. You shouldn't do things that are going to change who you are, that can mess with your mind and stuff. Why does she need to change everything about herself just because her husband died? She was going to be giving a speech at the conference and she wanted to look nice. Who cares what she's wearing? What does any of this stuff have to do with anything? Right? It's just so weird. And the pyrotechnics always happened. That was what they always did. Charlie walked out to pyrotechnics. What were they just supposed to have, like a dark room with like candle lit and everyone's crying and sobbing? Like that's not what the event was about. So all of this is just insanely ridiculous, but this is what Candace Owens has done to Erika Kirk and Turning Point USA and whoever her next victim is going to be, because this is just how she is and she's just getting worse and worse. And so, until something is done legally, probably it's just going to keep happening over and over again. And the mocking is just the crazy, like she is so nasty and mean and mocking like, so check, and so are her downstreamers are taking on her personality. So check this out. So this is Allie Beth Stuckey, sort of sticking up for Erika Kirk, and then Baron Coleman, one of her downstreamers, is going to mock her.
Pray for her kids. Trust that she loves her kids way more than you do.
Oh, thank you for that little lesson there, Allie Beth. I was unfamiliar with the parental love. I was unfamiliar, Allie Beth, with maternity instincts.
Yeah, real stand-up stuff there. Okay, so the reason why I highlighted that story about the Romanian angel situation is because it really shows how much they stretch things, and that's such serious allegations. Like, it's crazy to me that you would do something like that. And what's even crazier is that Candace Owens is so hypocritical when it comes to these type of things. Okay, so here she is. This is Britta, No Soup for Knowles. She has a great she has a great X page. I recommend following her, and I will leave this linked below. But she says, Candace likes to complain about rich people while traveling to Italy and Russia and wearing $3,550 Balenciaga blazers. Anyway, here's how it's supposed to be worn. So she's not wearing it right, I guess, because the sash goes like that. But it's interesting, the Balenciaga situation, because there was a situation surrounding Balenciaga a while back. So let's examine that. Okay, so this video is called I Fell Down the Balenciaga Rabbit Hole. Here's what I found. and it is by, I guess, the Daily Wire, but this person, I don't know if they're using this video from someone else because this doesn't seem like the Daily Wire. But okay, let's see what this is, because the reason why I'm highlighting this is because this was some very disturbing stuff that had to do with child SA and that type of stuff. And yet she's wearing their clothing still, and she was still friends with Kanye, which says a lot because he was very much linked to this brand. He designed for them, etc., etc. So let's learn about this.
Hold up, pause. Balenciaga? The same Balenciaga tied to Satan-worshipping Insta photos and child court documents? And weren't they recently involved in a scandal sexualizing kids in their ads?
Controversial recent ad campaign featured kids with a bear in a bondage outfit.
Okay, you guys, so what's going on at the luxury fashion brand Balenciaga? At first I thought, okay, fashion is meant to be edgy. Maybe I just don't get it. I wanted to understand what all the fuss was about. Was Balenciaga trolling with an extreme PR stunt to raise brand awareness that turned into a scandal? Is this a company simply pushing the limits of taste and accidentally going too far? Or did we just catch them in the act? Because why choose this imagery? Why advertise with a cocktail of extreme sex, Satanism, and children? So here's the first thing I came across. Photos of little kids with teddy bears. But these teddy bears are draped in straight-up BDSM gear. Yeah, that's a plush bear in a black thong and a leather harness. Notice the blackened out eyes and studded leather jacket on the other bear? In a messy kid's room is a bear in fishnet stockings with a padlock around its neck, and a child's drawing of the devil behind a little boy. This image also has caution tape with the word Balenciaga, a play on the name of the brand and the name of a demonic Old Testament Canaanite god who demanded child sacrifice. Why is this child half asleep on the couch while several wine glasses are blatantly displayed in the foreground? You can't miss them. Why does Balenciaga want a child to be in this picture? Weird and perverse, yes. But wait, it gets worse. See this purse being promoted on Balenciaga's website from the now canned 2023 campaign? At first glance, this just looks like an office-themed shoot. But look closely, under the purse. That paperwork proves to be a document from an actual Supreme Court case that debates the legality of promoting child. Look it up, United States v. Williams. That's a rather bizarre Easter egg. There's no way these documents made it into the photo shoot by accident. Everything on a fashion set is meticulously curated and staged. Look at everything else in these photos, how perfectly arrayed it all is. Balenciaga knew people would see this. The question again is why? Why sell shoes and jackets and purses and shirts with kids, the occult, and sexual deviancy? Speaking of Easter eggs, in the background here you see a seemingly normal stack of books. But if you zoom in, the most easy to read title is Mikkel Borman's As Sweet as It Gets. A quick search of his name led me to find that he's a Belgian painter with some incredibly disturbing work that again includes kids. One of his paintings depicts images of naked, castrated toddlers soaked in blood. Other Borman's paintings show masked people eating human limbs. Another features dead children and teenagers with dead animals. Another book spotted in the ad is called The Cremaster Cycle by Matthew Barney. Cremaster refers to the reflex that raises and lowers the testicles. Barney's cremaster work is non-narrative and takes concepts like sex, death, and reproduction and gives them the John Waters treatment via a high art lens, thus making images occasionally interesting to look at, but nonetheless debased, self-indulgent, grotesque, and repulsive. There's more here, but let me show you one last thing that again is about children from Balenciaga and Adidas. You see this diploma? The name on it is John Philip Fisher. Search that name and it leads you to a news report about a Michigan man who is accused of molesting his granddaughter from age 4 until she was 16. Well, where is this stuff coming from? Enter Demna Vasalia, the brand's creative director since 2015. Interestingly, Demna got his feet wet in 2014 when he created Venomins. The streetwear collection is wildly popular with celebrities, including Rihanna, Hailey Bieber, and Selena Gomez. The phrase sexual fantasies and drink from me and live forever is splattered across his apparel, and his oversized bomber jacket proclaims total darkness over the symbol of a pentagram. He's this guy who's photographed in that full black mask alongside Kim Kardashian at the Met Gala. More on Kim later. But those full black masks are styled like what might be worn by a BDSM gimp, the sexually submissive partner. And you don't have to go far to see these all over Balenciaga. The brand's spring 2023 fashion show in New York City is teeming with gimp masks and fetish bodysuits, model after model. And we can't skip Lala Volkova. Volkova is a Russian-born fashion consultant who styled Demna's Venomins collection and worked with him on Balenciaga up until at least 2017. She's close to Demna and has ties to everyone in fashion, from Vogue to Adidas to Chanel. Vogue and W Magazine dubbed her, quote, the coolest stylist in the industry, and photographed her wearing a BDSM collar she bought.
Okay, and you have to remember that Kanye West was connected with this brand. He was connected with Adidas. He knows all these people. He wore one of their GIMP masks on the show he did with Alex Jones, the really weird show where he just appeared on Alex Jones' show and he had like the GIMP mask on the whole time. Yeah, so I mean, like, he is connected to all of this that we're watching.
At a sex shop. Wormholing through Lada's social media post, it's riddled with satanic imagery, children in distress, and murder scenes. Lada's also friends with Gosha Rubachinsky, a Russian streetwear designer who allegedly pressured a 16-year-old boy to send nudes of himself. The trio seems to be a tight-knit group, with Demna telling ID Magazine back in 2016, someone wrote that Lada, Gosha, and I grew up on child pornography and radiation from Chernobyl, which is why we're so f***ed up. After Balenciaga's recent campaign went viral, they're giving the standard apology tour with the company's CEO and creative director issuing a series of apologetic Instagram posts talking about, quote, learning from our mistakes, and grievous errors, and standing for children's safety, blah, blah, blah. The company started out basically pretending that they never even saw the photos in question before they were published. But anyone familiar with fashion or entertainment knows that executives and lawyers would have vetted and signed off on every pixel before they were published. The fashion house even tried to blame the ad campaign's producers and set designer for the child sex controversy, filing a $25 million lawsuit against production company North 6 and set designer Nicolas Desjardins. They dropped the lawsuit a week later. Now, back to Kim Kardashian. Kim is all caps obsessed with Balenciaga. Remember she wore that ridiculous all-black outfit with a GIMP reminiscent face mask? The mother of four even paraded her 9-year-old daughter North around New York wearing an even more dramatic kid's face mask. She says she's, quote, reevaluating her working relationship with Balenciaga and was distressed by the images. But she also has spoken with the brand and believes they will do better going forward. So what will happen in the future? Balenciaga has significant celebrity pool. All kinds of famous faces love Balenciaga, and none of them appear to be cutting ties with the brand. Beyonce, Kylie Jenner, Emily Ratajkowski, Gwyneth Paltrow, Nicole Kidman, Dua Lipa, Salma Hayek, Bella and Gigi Hadid, Kanye, the list goes on and on. Nobody has been fired, and none of the celebrities are speaking out. In fact, a New York Times article covering the controversy attempts to blame the scandal on QAnon and Fox News. Will anything change?
Okay, so here's another video called The Surprising Story Behind Kanye West and Balenciaga. And I will leave it linked below as well.
Balenciaga was taking my imagery off of their site, and the Drink Champs was being taken down. And I said, this is the happiest day of my life.
Reaching a high note and then falling is a new habit of Kanye West, the king of controversies.
Okay, so they were splitting ties with him because of the anti-Semitism, which all kind of stemmed around the same time. So they had their controversy. He wasn't separating from them because of that. They were separating from him because of the anti-Semitism stuff that was going on while he was having one of his mental break situations.
Has already begun tearing down relationships in the music industry, and now Ye is doing the same with the fashion industry.
I love cutting the grass low.
How much can awful behavior be tolerated by companies from Kanye West? Is the music genius really a genius with fashion? Hey folks, welcome back to Kanye West Forward. The Grammy Award winner, Kanye West's personal life was always a feast for the media. His controversial attitude toward many collab companies just triggers the media more. So, does Balenciaga also sever ties with Kanye West? Get ready to find the answers. Before we move on, hit the bell icon and subscribe to the channel for more updates. Let's dive in. Balenciaga is a luxury fashion house founded by the Spanish designer Cristobal Balenciaga. It was founded in 1919. They produce footwear, ready-to-wear accessories, and perfumes. The trademark designs of Balenciaga were bubble skirts and silhouettes. French-based luxury goods company Kering is Balenciaga's parent company. Kanye West, an American rapper, record producer, and fashion designer, had many collaborations with multiple multinational luxury companies. How did it all start? What is the Balenciaga tie-up with Kanye? Before moving into that, how many of you have heard about Yeezy Gap? Yeezy is a fashion collab between Kanye West and Adidas. And in June 2020, Kanye revealed on his Twitter that his Yeezy is going to collaborate with Gap, an American clothing and accessories retailer popular brand. The 10-year contract between Yeezy Gap and Kanye West went beyond simply paying a designer's salary, making it an emerging business arrangement between a celebrity and a brand. More than royalties from Yeezy Gap sales, Kanye received around 8.5 million shares of Gap's common stock. However, Yeezy's partnership with Gap fulfilled Kanye's desire to work with Gap. Now, moving on to Balenciaga. The year 2022 turned out to be a milestone for Balenciaga, as Yeezy Gap announced a tie-up with it. The world believed that the collaboration of Balenciaga and Kanye West for the Yeezy Gap emerged as a new face of luxury. But like his relationship with many other collab brands, his journey with Balenciaga also didn't last long.
These contracts need to be fixed. Everyone could be so mad at the messenger, right? Yay, you said it the wrong way. You're offensive. you're like Hitler now because you said it. You said this out loud.
Kanye's relationship with Balenciaga actually started in 2021 through Demna. Who is she? So, Demna is the creative director of Balenciaga, and Kanye, now known as Ye, hooked up with her. Through Demna, Kanye managed to sign the agreement with Balenciaga. Rapper playing the cards excellently, isn't it? Demna also helped Ye with his event that was held in Atlanta. She worked as the event's creative director. The event was listening to Kanye's most awaited 10th album, Donda. Demna also designed merch for the promotions of Donda. Well, Demna also received favor in return from Ye. Ye was among the first people to wear clothing from Demna's brand Vetements. Demna was one of the designers Ye hired to work on his debut collection when Kanye started creating Yeezy clothing. Friends, we also have some exciting news.
Okay, so that just shows you how Kanye's tied in with all these people, with Balenciaga. Okay, so this is Blair White talking about the whole Balenciaga thing as well.
It's just a really bad look. And on its face, this is bad enough, right? This is a PR disaster just on its own. But what no one was prepared for was that these photos would actually open up a Pandora's box, revealing years of subtle and not so subtle imagery in Balenciaga ads relating to and specifically depicting child abuse and an ad that could have potentially been written off as a one-time thing, a misstep, a mistake, and just somehow, by the grace of God, missed the higher-ups that could have been smart enough to say this isn't appropriate, we're gonna get backlash for this. The public, honestly, it's sad to say, but probably could have moved on from the one ad. But it's far from one ad. And it's far from innocent people involved in making that ad. And we're gonna get into that because when we get into the actual people that are behind it, there's gonna be a very clear picture painted that Balenciaga is run by, in my opinion, of course. In past fashion shows, Balenciaga has made a point to specifically relate these teddy bears to abuse, featuring models that are covered in bruises and blood. Why they would choose those same items to be in photos with children.
Okay, so there's a conspiracy theory that I know Candace knows of, that the fashion industry is just a big trafficking cover-up, so that there was this thing that came out that had to do with like somebody named Chandler, and that she was like a handler for something, I don't know, and then it was showing all these like very sickly, like they don't look in good shape, like very unhealthy models, sort of like this model here, but like just like this, like just their profile, like over and over again, like all these very sickly looking people for all these fashion companies like Balenciaga and stuff, and that they were the conspiracy theory is that they're trafficking these people. Like, who are they? They just don't look like models. They look like they're and that they need help, you know what I mean? So this is a conspiracy theory. I know she knows about it, yet she doesn't talk about that at all.
Is going to make more sense as we go along, but you know, there's one thing. Meet the photographer behind the teddy bear BDSM shoot, Gabriel Galimberti. And just a heads up, I'm going to be mispronouncing names here because a lot of these names are foreign and it is what it is, but that's not the point of the video. An interesting tweet from him on July 31st of this year has come up where he is publicly questioning why restrict child but not guns. I can think of a lot of reasons, but I don't think the point is to really answer that stupid question, right? The point is someone who has created a teddy bear BDSM ad with children has also just so happened to publicly question the restrictions on CP. If 1 + 1 = 2, there you go. I mean, honestly, the thing that we're going to be doing in this video the most is just connecting the dots, for which there are a lot. This is basically a constellation that we're going to be unveiling in this video. Speaking of CP, take a look at this ad for a Balenciaga ad. It looks innocent, looks benign at face value, right? But let's just zoom. And you can see that there's a document laying beneath the purse, and that document says a lot. It's a Supreme Court ruling from Ashcroft versus Free Speech Coalition. Now, this ruling actually reversed a significant portion of the Child Prevention Act of 1996. Now, why is that important? This is one of the wins for the This was good news for the Palos. Basically, what it did was it ruled that the ban on virtual CP, think of drawings, artwork, CGI, that was within the bounds and it was legal. So again, this was a win for the seediest people among us. And so it's not exactly a document that any brand that's concerned about their public image would want to display in an ad, and yet Balenciaga did it. And again, if it was only this incident of this one document that some rogue producer on a shoot put in, and somehow, which is really impossible, but somehow, if you really stretch your mind, just slip past all the people that are hired to check for things like that, and then they sued the person and they won, I think the public would be like, wow, we were mad at you, but it wasn't your fault. But when you have that, and you also have the photographer publicly, questioning CP restrictions, the teddy bear BDSM ad, and the litany of things we still have to get through in this video, there's a very clear picture being painted here. I don't want to repeat myself, but it's about painting the picture. At this point, we're on multiple strikes for Balenciaga. Here's another Balenciaga ad that at first glance seems like nothing, but again, we're going to do some zooming here. There's a book in the background. The author of this book in the stack is by Michael Bormans. Michael Bormans' most famous work is called Fire from the Sun, which features imagery of child dismemberment of children, bloody children. Honestly, like most of the art, I am not going to want to show on this video, but just know, you can do your research, it's bad. It's really bad. There's no reason for there to be yet another example of subliminal messaging when it comes to child in a Balenciaga ad. What are we on, strike 4? Strike 5? I'm losing count. This is not a conspiracy theory, especially when it comes to brands as huge as Balenciaga and with as much positive press and attention on them and celebrities that work with them. There is zero part of any ads that are not 110% intentional, and they are absolutely on the hook for all of this. Because again, if it was one shoot that went bad or slipped through the cracks, that's one thing. Still terrible, still worthy of not shopping from them, but you can see how something could potentially happen. No, this is too many things already, and we're like a third through the evidence. The CP court case document, intentional. The photographer publicly questioning CP restrictions, intentional. The teddy bear BDSM, intentional. The book placed in the background depicting child abuse, intentional. And in a way, the use of subliminal messaging when it comes to this is somehow even more sinister than if they just put it right in your face, right? Because they're intending to subconsciously penetrate the mind of their viewers doing God knows what. And I think it's very clear to anyone paying attention that there is absolutely a concerted effort to normalize within Western culture. If you disagree, you're free to disagree, but in my opinion, you're just not paying attention. Meet one of the hottest stylists in fashion who worked at Balenciaga for years, Loda Volkova. She's a Russian fashion editor who has worked with a ton of huge brands, most notably being Balenciaga. She also has a personal relationship with an accused. Get to that. It's important to look at someone's social media to really get a good idea of who they are, right? So if you're looking at Blair White's social media, you're gonna see me, with makeup that I'm proud of putting on my face, with my guns, with my dog, of my life, my friends. What do you see on Loda Volkova's Instagram? Let's just take a look. Images of children are abundant on Loda's social media, almost to the point that it's nauseating. I mean, how much of it can you post? How big of an interest can it be for you that it's overtaking your feed? Imagery of children tied to chairs, being dismembered, in general distress, or just in positions that are clearly like compromising positions are abundant on her social media. It's clearly an obsession. And say hello to those teddy bears making a return on Loda's Instagram, this time a little more blunt than even the ads. Now let's look at the creative director of Balenciaga, Denma. Denma made a very interesting statement about Loda himself and their other friend who we're gonna get to, saying this. Someone wrote that Loda Volkova, Gosha, and I grew up on child and radiation from Chernobyl, which is why we're all so effed up. When someone tells you who they are, it's probably best to believe them. This is not something normal people joke about. And if they joke about it, it's surely not with the added context of actual child imagery on their social media. This could be a dark joke that someone who has no proximity to actual child abuse could potentially make about themselves and their friends. I get it, people say dark things, but you don't say it again with the added context of oh, and I have child imagery on my social media, and I work for a brand that's consistently putting child imagery in their ads. If 1 + 1 = 2. It's basic math here. And that name, Gosha, let's take a look at him. Oh, shocker. He has been literally accused of soliciting nudes from an underage boy, 16 to be precise. It's very, telling that along this trail, this person also is there, right? A boy who accused him posted the conversation, which you can see here. Send me now something from the bathroom. I can't. It is my mom's bedroom. You can go to the bathroom and do it quickly, please. I don't believe your mom. Come to the bathroom together with you. Obviously, English isn't this person's first language, so it's not me speaking correctly. She doesn't go with me. She's in there now. Can go when she's gone. Okay. Please. What is this desperation? You sick. We'll try. Otherwise, tomorrow. Can't wait for tomorrow. Wow. I mean, these people show you who they are. This is not complicated. And they very obviously get off on mocking you, showing you who they are in public, and maintaining just the right amount of cover of being artistic that they get away with it. Check out this video of Balenciaga handing out bloody purses with fake babies in them.
What's in your bag?
In my bag, stuff for baby.
Should we do what's in your bag? Yeah, can we do what's in the bag, please? Should I hold it for you and you can take things out?
Excuse me. Yeah. Look, there's like when she starts to cry, then when she's gonna pee, I don't know. Then when she's boring, she's boring. Yeah, everything possible.
I'm glad I waited a week to do a video about this because every day that I've waited, more things have come out about this. And it's just insane. To the point where Balenciaga has wiped all of their social media because people were going back and saying, hey, what about this? What about this? And finding actual things. The CEO of Balenciaga's parent company sells child sex mannequins. Did you know that? I'm not going to put any of the photos up, minus one that I'm going to heavily censor because they are that graphic, but they are essentially all mannequins of children some with their legs spread, with their genitals exposed, and like deformations on their face with genitals growing out of their face, holes in their face. It's like, if this really just all has to do with art and y'all are just so edgy and just the little people just don't get it, right? I'm sorry, are you interested in art depicting anything other than child? Because at this point, it's like all you can find on their socials. The CEO's name is Francis Henry Pinault, and he is Salma Hayek's husband. What's up, Salma? So let's just check in, because this is like a lot, right? And I just hit you with a lot of information at once. We have more, but let's just check in really quick. It's clear that this goes much deeper than a tone-deaf teddy bear ad. And the silence of virtually all of Hollywood, every brand that works with Balenciaga, every celebrity that accepts money from them, that appears in their ads, like, it's blaring. Almost no celebrities have actually come out and condemned Balenciaga for their actions and their ads, which is funny because the last time I checked, just with the current state of things, celebrities love nothing more than jumping on any and every opportunity to have this moral high ground, preach to people that they find this thing wrong, cancel this brand, cancel this person, refuse to work with this person. All they do is condemn stuff. And I tweeted, and I stand by my tweets, and this one actually went like very viral, I think, just because it's objectively true, that if Balenciaga had done an ad that offended the LGBT community, say they made some sort of like slight against non-binary people or something, every celebrity that works with them would have come out overnight and denounced them. Why don't we see that same type of reaction here? You tell me in the comments. In a world where people and brands are getting canceled for decade-old tweets and for the slightest violation of like woke law, right? No one can find it within themselves in the public sphere to be like, Balenciaga, like, I'm just not buying it. And it's pretty sinister if you think about it, the refusal to condemn it. Because it should be the easiest thing in the world. There's not an easier line to draw. In fact, the corporate press has very begrudgingly even covered this story, and the ones that are covering it are often in a way defending or trying to deflect and write this off as a right-wing conspiracy theory. Kim Kardashian is one of the only celebrities to actually come forward, say it's disgusting. However, she's currently reevaluating her relationship with the brand. Now, Kim routinely appears in Balenciaga ads. In many ways, Kim is sort of synonymous with Balenciaga. Certainly when I think of Balenciaga, I think of people like Kim Kardashian, Cardi B, who made their sneakers very famous and sold those out. You know, there are certain celebrities that are just very silent that have appeared in a lot of these ads. Kendall Jenner. What's going on, guys? I mean, Kim Kardashian is so independently rich from Balenciaga. Like, she has income stream upon income stream. She probably has more income streams than like almost any other celebrity. So the fact that she needs that one extra income stream with Balenciaga, that she's too afraid to cut ties, that is a level of greed that, like, I don't know. What's the point of even like being human at that point? Do you have any lines you draw ever? Have you lost your humanity? But then again, it runs in the family because Kanye was wearing Balenciaga on InfoWars after the controversy, defended Balenciaga while also defending Hitler, which, please believe, we'll get into that on the next podcast episode. And their daughter, Northwest, was seen wearing a Balenciaga GIMP mask. That's appropriate. Yeah, let's put our child in a GIMP mask.
Okay, so as you guys can see, the reason why I'm showing you this is because this is extremely disturbing, very odd, credible, actual, with evidence stuff that ties to Kanye West. Okay, not saying he did anything weird, but he's connected to all these people. And yet Candace Owens didn't call him out for any of this. Yet she makes up like an entire story just because Erika Kirk did gift donations to an orphanage and there happened to be in that area trafficking in Romania. She ties that to Erika Kirk, but then all this, you know, it's so hypocritical and crazy to me. Okay, so here she is. She's going to be talking about Balenciaga and the situation, and then she's going to be mad that they're dropping Kanye.
may know Balenciaga. It's a huge brand. Kim Kardashian is one of the faces of it. In fact, if you go to her profile right now, she has dripped herself in their new campaign. Balenciaga and Adidas are teaming up. They want nothing to do with Ye. Neither does she. Perfect brands for all of them to unite and to sell some products. In the ad, they have very young children. You can go to their website and they probably have already taken it down. Then they shot another photo from the campaign and the same exact campaign. And there is a Balenciaga purse. And under the purse, there's a lot of papers. When you zoom in to the papers, what you will see is it is a Supreme Court decision. You now have Balenciaga, one of the loudest brands in the world, biggest brands in the world, loudest brands in the world, with a fleet of A-list celebrities, okay, that stand behind them. This is the same Balenciaga that just dropped Ye.
I think people just try to score points, you know what I'm saying? Like Maverick Carter had me go on a show just to say we took him off the show. Then I go on Drink Champs, then they take it down. The day when I was taking off the Balenciaga flight, that was one of the most freeing days, you know? We're about making product that's $20, the best design in the world, and that's the reason why we have brought the head designer from Balenciaga Demna, who's a great designer. That's why I brought him to the Gap in the first place. But they didn't allow that to happen. And that's why I had to get up out of those big corporations so I could get directly to the people. And I want to talk about the Jewish.
Okay, so did you hear what he said? He's talking about Demna. He's talking about that guy. That's why he's like, oh, he's wonderful. That's why I brought him with me to Gap and all this stuff. So Candace, she's attacking Balenciaga to make Kim Kardashian look bad, but she's completely like whitewashing it with Kanye West.
Comment. It's actually proving the exact point that I made. So many actors been bullied behind the scenes. So you even got people like Ari Emanuel asking people to not do business with me. That's how this town has been running for so long. They'll mute you. They're trying to mute you at all costs. This is the thing. They never expected someone to have the platform. It's not that anyone's afraid. They're afraid of us not being afraid anymore. And we're not afraid anymore. They can't use all the tactics. I'm talking about my life was threatened to have a political opinion. If I ever went anywhere, we know why. You understand what I'm saying? Exactly. So I know God has a plan for us.
Did a segment on this.
Not in flesh and blood. This is a spiritual warfare at this point.
Because Tucker Carlson did a segment on this and drummed up a response to this, they have now issued a statement saying that they should have never featured the children in the campaign. That's it. Kim Kardashian, girl. I just know you are going to find that same energy that you and your sister Chloe found to write a tweet against your husband, that you are going to find that same energy, that same exact effing energy to stand up and to condemn Balenciaga. Because girl, we know that you are desperate for fame. So I know you are just looking for the right words, and that your silence and your recent posts dripped in that exact same campaign is really you just sitting back trying to find the effing right words to say that you will have nothing to do with this brand. Use that same energy, Kimmy, and put up a post and be done with Balenciaga. And then re-examine what it is that your ex-husband has been saying about what he believes his children are being exposed to.
Okay, so she knows about the whole thing. She's researched into it. I know she knows about the fashion trafficking scandal, and yet she's attacking Kim Kardashian, who actually was like the only person who did kind of come out and say like at least something, about it, like that it wasn't cool. But she's attacking Kim Kardashian, completely whitewashing Kanye West, and now today, just recently, like I showed you earlier, this is recent when she was in Russia wearing Balenciaga. This is what I mean when I talk about Candace Owens. Doesn't mean anything she says. She just wants to attack people and find ways. Anybody she feels like has injured her in her narcissistic ego, to attack them and do all this crazy stuff to them. That's what she does. She doesn't actually care about anything. She doesn't care about Charlie. She doesn't care about getting to the truth. She just wants to hurt people. And so when she pretends like she cares so much about child trafficking and child SA, she doesn't. Okay? It's all a LARP. Okay, so let's get back to the article, shall we? It was hard not to take personally. Among her false claims about me, Candace implied that I'm an alcoholic. Implied is a polite word for it. These statements, made alongside other unfair and untrue allegations about me, were intended to degrade, demean, and discredit me. If I were intoxicated and out of control, then nothing I had to say about Candace could be taken seriously, and nothing I had to say about any other subject could be taken seriously either. I inhabit the worlds I cover. That is not a pun on the name of my publication. It is the way I approach my writing. I exist not just among but with the subjects of my reporting, as fully as the access they grant allows. I go to parties, I spend time in homes, I attend weddings, I attend funerals. I go, I watch, I listen, I engage. And what those words come to mean as they recur and accumulate is that I participate in order to understand. This is not the only way to do it, but it is an established one. The fact that I work this way does not make me unique among writers, far from it. Others in this trade have done the same, sometimes to criticism, sometimes to acclaim. I am unaware, though, of instances in which a writer has been maligned as a ditzy drunk for the practice, though many writers and many great ones have been drunks. Fewer have been ditzes, but that quality has its place too. Candace prefers a monologue delivered from her home studio, a prepackaged narrative condensed by a team and read from an invisible teleprompter. My first reaction to Candace's smear was acute hurt and humiliation. It felt terrible to be willfully misrepresented on a platform that reaches millions, and it felt terrible to read the harassment that flowed from that misrepresentation. Within the hurt was offense and a measure of anxiety. If she succeeded in her efforts to tar me as out of my depth and out of sorts, it could damage more than my feelings. My writing often depends on the trust I establish with sources and subjects. What if they believed her claims that I could not be trusted, that I was not fully there? Within those feelings was fury, too. Many of Candace's accusations about me fit neatly within her worldview. Israel, the great villain of her narrative, made it unsurprisingly that she wrote me into the script as an intelligence asset. But where did my alleged alcoholism fit? She had pulled away from politics, she told her viewers, because the closer she got to the center of things, the more she understood the fraud inherent in the scene. She cited the example of supposed adherents to family values, who were often drinking and drunk and sleeping with one another. Months later, a potential clue appeared in the form of a Tennessee court record from 2023 involving a vehicle, a weapon in the scene of an accident that had been fled. The name on the report was George Farmer and a George T. Farmer, but did not exclusively establish that the individual arrested was George Thomas Dayhill Farmer, the man Candace married in 2019. The man in the document was white and male. His height and weight were missing. The birth date was listed as July 5th, 1990. Public databases list different birth dates for George Farmer Candace married: December 1989, December 1990, July 1989, and July 5th, 1990. Okay. So please remember, and I believe it was in the previous one where this was documented, that Candace Owens made a big deal and tried to imply that Erika Kirk was some kind of MK Ultra mind controlled victim because her birth date on one document was 2 days off on a different document. Yeah. Because he is a UK native who only became a dual citizen in 2025, establishing basic facts about his American records is not straightforward. Some chatter about the report surfaced online. Laura Loomer posted about it in December. A friend of Candace and George, speaking anonymously, confirmed the individual named in the report was indeed George T. Farmer, but that record had been buried. This week, more information regarding George's legal issues has surfaced. Court records were obtained by two sleuths on X. Can you answer some questions about this? Was the accident your husband caused in 2023 a separate incident from the DUI and the weapons charges he got that are now erased from the Tennessee government website? One user asked. Another replied to an older post questioning visas. This is a genuine question. Which visa program allows the son of a British lord to move to America and influence our politics through his business ventures and lets him stay even after being arrested for a hit and run and then blowing 3 times the legal alcohol limit while illegally carrying a gun down the street? One screenshot shows a court date for a settlement hearing on 8/25/23, which would coincide with a medical claim being made 4 months prior. Because no settlement was reached, it proceeded to trial. In addition, the birthday of 7/5/90 aligns with Candace saying they celebrated George's birthday over the 4th of July weekend. Her scrubbing aligns with mounting turmoil. Around this time, Candace deleted everything from before early 2025, perhaps as a defense, hoping to cease examining of her posts the way she examines others. Very interesting. George Farmer or George Farmer. Anonymous sources told me the DUI was strategically buried through legal maneuvering and that his birth date has remained deliberately elusive, making it difficult for sleuths to definitively tie the record to him. Technically, as it appears on the file, he was never arrested because the incident was sufficiently buried, they explained. In the course of my own investigation into her past, I learned that many were on to Candace long before questions about her credibility became a cause for viral sparring. A shrewd producer and performer, Candace has always understood the value and the lure of drama. Sources who worked with her at the Daily Wire said staff often braced for off-stage walk-offs. She had the largest studio on set, noticeably grander than those used by Brett Cooper and Ben Shapiro, who would at times roll his media cart into her space to film segments of his show. She also had a reputation for running late, occasionally leaving live audience members waiting in a neighboring parking lot for an hour or more before being welcomed onto set. So this here corresponds with things that people have said recently about how with Blexit appearances and TPUSA appearances and speeches and stuff like that she was supposed to be at, she was always running late, or sometimes she didn't show up at all and they would have to find somebody else to fill her spot. According to two people who requested to remain anonymous, she was respected and even revered, like a celebrity on set, but not well liked beyond that persona. They described her as cold and oddly paranoid, a trait that surfaced during her introductory meeting with the team Daily Wired had assembled to ensure her immediate success on the platform. She came off as accusatory, one person presented that day recalled. The energy shifted as it became clear she was neither as grateful nor enthusiastic as they were about building something ambitious together, but instead suspicious of the newly formed team and their intentions. Later, staff were instructed not to look her in the eye when she entered the set. Her request extended to specific straws to sip water from. One former staffer laughed while recalling the quiet panic that set in if the straw was misplaced before she arrived. Candace was a skilled performer. She speaks on camera with unhedged confidence. Her script monologues were polished, but she was irritated by and disinterested in reviewing meticulously fact-checked outlines prepared for her. According to those who spoke to me on the condition of anonymity, she often dismissed the reference material entirely as she pursued the most sensational angle, sometimes bending facts and strategizing ways to provoke guests in order to produce a viral clip. When I asked one former colleague to describe her in a single word, he didn't hesitate. Instigator, he said. Her pattern is predictable in hindsight. She secures the stakes before she strikes as a matter of standard practice. Hypersensitive and volatile, she responds to any perceived threat quickly, forcefully, and often unfairly, while presenting herself as the victim. That pattern has followed her since she entered public life. In 2016, she announced her plans to combat cyberbullying with a startup, Social Autopsy. The age of technology and social media was slowly disintegrated, individual accountability and consequences of which are devastating, she said at the time. Her goal was to raise $75. Instead, the contradictory premise of an anti-harassment doxing database stirred up an esoteric online culture war and ultimately killed the project before it could formally launch. By 2018, as far-right populism surged across the Western world, Candace Owens was touring the United States promoting Blexit, a campaign urging Black Americans to abandon the Democratic Party. Backed by Turning Point USA, Blexit was pitched as a political awakening, with Candace as the face of the movement. Donor money flowed quickly, but behind the scenes, some supporters began questioning whether it was persuading voters at all. An early skeptic was Republican commentator and congressional candidate Kim Klacik. She told me she agreed with many of Candace's political arguments, but questioned whether the strategy was working. I asked my pollster what the numbers showed, Kim said. He said, well, nobody actually Blexited. Kim said she initially tried raising concerns privately. In her view, the issue wasn't the premise of the movement, but the delivery. Candace's controversial rhetoric, she felt, was alienating to the very voters the campaign hoped to attract. We share the same donors, Kim told me. From what I understood, people were reaching out to her about it, but she didn't seem to care. When I looked at the financials and realized they were more than $1 million in the hole, it started to make sense. She wasn't worried about losing donors, even as people at Blexit were getting laid off. It felt like their livelihoods didn't matter, like nothing mattered except her. Financial filings show Blexit rose and fell quickly. In 2019, the organization reported $873,697 in revenue against $188,219 in expenses, leaving a surplus of roughly $685,000. Donations surged the following year. By 2020, Blexit reported more than $7.4 million in revenue and ended the year with $3.6 million in net assets. but the trajectory soon reversed. By 2021, the organization was running deficits, spending more than it raised. Losses continued through 2022, and by 2023, revenue had dropped to $274,538, while expenses exceeded $1.3 million, leaving the group with no reported net assets. In the same year, it ultimately merged with Turning Point USA, according to non-profit filings reviewed by ProPublica. Now remember, what we've talked about, what other people have talked about, we've gone over this, I think, several times, if I'm remembering correctly, that Candace Owens projects everything that's about her onto other people. That's what narcissists do. Okay. So when she says that Turning Point is a corrupt organization and that their financials are bad, even though she has no way of knowing that, she's projecting herself onto the company. And it's very, very ironic that she's saying that about them when they have had to bail her out of this whole Brexit situation, because that's why Charlie Kirk merged it, because it was going under and was so much money negative. According to multiple sources familiar with the organization, Candace frequently traveled to events on privately chartered flights, with travel expenses paid through the group. The tension between Candace and Kim eventually spilled into the public view when Kim criticized Candace Owens on Twitter over her stance on the Juneteenth federal holiday. In a now deleted response, Kim suggested the issue was classism rather than racism and accused Candace of having a lack of engagement with Black people. From there, the dispute escalated quickly. Kim accused Candace of perpetuating cancel culture. Candace responded by calling Kim a fake and hilarious person. Soon after, Candace released a 45-minute Instagram video leveling a series of accusations about Kim's background. In the video, Candace claimed Kim had previously worked as a stripper, hired a Democratic Party operative for her congressional campaign, and was involved in what she described as money laundering, tax fraud, and campaign fraud. She also alleged that Kim's husband owned a strip club. She was enraged, Kim recalled. She said, "I was waiting for you to say something." It's the same thing she later said about Erika Kirk. "I was waiting for Erika to respond." "I keep thinking there's no way Charlie doesn't know this about her," Kim said, referring to the Turning Point co-founder Charlie Kirk. And the same with Ben Shapiro. But with Ben, it felt like they were just excited about how much money she was bringing in. After her Black Lives Matter documentary apparently pulled in millions, the Daily Wire deal started to make more sense. As the feud escalated, Candace began digging into Kim's private life and circulating claims about her ex-husband. "If you look up my ex-husband's name online, it shows he's the principal of one of these strip clubs," Kim explained, "but he's a CPA. His name shows up on the filings for a lot of businesses." She took that and ran with it, calling him a strip club owner. "He is Ukrainian, very private, and not a public person at all," Kim added. He was furious, absolutely livid. At the time, Kim says the two were privately separated, something the public did not know. "She was blowing up my personal life while we were already dealing with things behind the scenes," she said, and it was wild. Kim attempted to confront the accusations publicly. "I told her, let's go on Instagram Live, ask me anything," but she wouldn't do it. Instead, Kim says Candace insisted any confrontation take place on her show. "She only succeeds when she can completely control the environment," Kim said. "The narrative, the angle, everything. That's why she won't face any of us live," in her own words. The dispute escalated further when Candace accused Kim of a series of criminal misconduct involving stolen campaign funds and drug use. She said, "I was on drugs, that I used campaign money to buy cocaine." Kim says the allegation came from an anonymous source Candace refused to identify. She kept saying, "I don't want to reveal my source," Kim said. Later we learned it was apparently a random dancer from the Gold Club. She claimed this happened during the campaign, but the clubs were closed because of COVID. To counter the accusation, Kim took a drug test and posted the results publicly the next day. The dispute eventually spilled into civil court in Nashville, where Kim filed a defamation lawsuit. "We were there for 6 hours," she said. "It was awful." According to Kim, Candace frequently consulted her husband during breaks in the deposition. "She kept calling George during the breaks to ask how to handle things," Kim said. "The whole thing was a disaster." Ultimately, Kim says her attorneys advised her to drop the case. As a public figure, the threshold for proving defamation was high and the financial burden even higher. My attorneys told me we could keep going, she said, but it would probably cost $1 million and we might not win. Afterward, Candace publicly framed the outcome as a victory. She tells everyone she won, Kim said, but the truth is I simply couldn't afford to keep fighting. The fallout lingered long after the lawsuit ended. It was awful. I was in tears for days, Kim said. People were attacking my daughter, saying CPS should come and take my child away because I was on drugs. According to Kim, Candace's supporters began filing complaints with the Federal Election Commission, triggering a forensic audit during the Biden administration. Every time they called the FEC, my lawyers had to respond. My accountants had to respond. We were getting hit with legal bills every single week because everything had to be documented. Eventually, the investigation concluded. The FEC released its forensic audit report and found no wrongdoing, not with my campaign, not with my PAC. Red Renaissance, Kim said, I have the file. It clearly states there was no wrongdoing. But the public narrative never corrected itself. She never fixed the record, never. If she had been right about me, I would have been in prison like George Santos. These were serious federal accusations. She accused me of felonies, even human trafficking, and her fans just ate it up. See how she always throws in the human trafficking? That is so weird. Makes me wonder, Before Kim Klacik, Nicole Arbor found herself in Candace Owens' crosshairs, a Canadian comedian and media personality Owens once admired. Arbor said she had initially been invited onto Candace's PragerU show when Candace was still establishing herself on the platform. According to Arbor, Owens reached out to her personally, telling her she was a fan and would love to have her on the podcast. The interview itself went smoothly. I was doing comedy, and that's what she was interviewing me about. Arbor told me, I was very anti-cancel culture. I am all about saying whatever you want as long as it's funny. Who cares? That's the vibe. But one comment from Owen stuck with her. I remember something she said that struck me as weird. Arbor said, she told me, I want to do what you do. I just want to be a contrarian. It seems like all you have to do is say the thing that isn't what most people think and it goes viral. After the taping, Owens followed up with a direct message suggesting that they should remain friendly, at least for the time being. She said we could stay friends until I surpassed her in followers, Arbor recalled. At that time, Arbor said she laughed it off. I thought it had to be a joke. They stayed in touch. Nicole offered to help if Candace ever needed guidance with social media or production infrastructure, and over the years, the two shared occasional phone calls, maintaining what Nicole described as a casual industry relationship that she considered a friendship. That was her miscalculation. People who knew Candace during that period described someone intensely driven and highly ambitious, and whose relationships were often opportunistic. Some said they believed she did not or could not maintain friendships that were unrelated to her professional goals, and shared recollections of social engagements at which the guest list seemed to reflect few and shallow relationships. At one point, Candace reached out about a new series she was developing at the Daily Wire. As Nicole remembers it, the concept was pitched as a View-style panel where she would appear alongside Candace and 2 or 3 other women. The two discussed ideas in creative direction, but a few weeks before filming, Candace called with an update. The format had changed, and the network had decided that there would just be one star, Candace Owens. She told me they wanted to make me the Oprah of the right, Nicole said. Nicole said she took the news in stride. I was like, cool, all good. I'm cheering for you. As consolation, Candace invited Nicole to participate as a regular contributor on a panel segment on the program. When Nicole arrived to tape the first episode, however, the atmosphere surprised her. What had been described as a lighter, funnier alternative to The View felt, in her words, mean and dark, particularly on the subject of Cardi B. It wasn't funny. There were no jokes. It was all just mean girl jabs. Nicole told me she has no problem joking about public figures. It's part of comedy, but the tone struck her as unusually harsh. I'll make jokes about artists, she explained, but I'm not just sitting there tearing someone down. I felt like I was standing with the mean girls at school while she screamed at someone she didn't like, and I was just supposed to back her up. It was very, very strange. As the episodes aired, Nicole said she began noticing bits she had written during the early development conversations appearing in segments on the show. She had never been hired as a writer or formally brought onto the team, and at the time she brushed it off as odd, but not serious enough to raise a dispute. The permanent fracture came later during Candace's campaign against Chrissy Teigen, when she urged conservatives to pressure retailers to drop Teigen's product lines. She wanted people calling Target saying they wouldn't shop there, Nicole said, and I was like, no, we're supposed to be the opposite of that. Nicole responded on Twitter without naming Candace, directly posting, "Cancel culture is for bitches." At first, it appeared to be a simple philosophical disagreement. Then she says the tone shifted. She flipped a switch, Nicole told me. She was screaming at the top of her lungs. The intensity felt disproportionate. Nicole suggested they debate the issue live, believing the disagreement could be handled openly. Candace agreed, but minutes after emailing Nicole's manager about scheduling the debate, Candace posted publicly that Nicole was refusing to participate. She sent the email 2 minutes before posting that we were non-responsive, Nicole said. My manager was at church. Suddenly, I'm the one backing out. By the time the logistics were clarified, the format had shifted from a one-on-one debate to a panel. Nicole says what followed was something else entirely. It wasn't a debate at all, she said. She put 2 people between us and another on my side. It was 4-on-1. At one point, a clip of Nicole was played out of context, framed to suggest she supported bullying, which literally wasn't it at all, she said. As the exchange escalated, Nicole says Candace abandoned the substance of the argument. I'm debating the topic and she won't debate the topic, Nicole told me. She just kept screaming and making things up. When Nicole began pushing back, she says Candace turned the conversation personal. She started naming my stalkers on air. These were men Nicole had previously confided to Candace about, individuals with documented histories of harassment. Humans don't act like this. That's not a thing, Nicole said. These aren't random people. They have a history. She knew I was literally terrified of them. According to Nicole, Candace named the men anyway, then sat there with that smug look like, what's the problem? Nicole says she told her it was gross, especially given she was actively working with victim services to distance herself from one of the men, someone who believed they were in a relationship. What unsettled her even more, she says, came next. Candace suggested she could play a recording of one of their phone conversations. She's like, can I play it? Nicole, can I play it? Nicole recalled, and I'm like, did you record our phone call from the one from last night? Nicole says Candace implied she had been recording their private conversations. That's when I realized she recorded everything. What unfolded on set that day, according to one source present, was deeply uncomfortable to watch. It was one of the worst things I've witnessed in all my media years, the source told me last month. Another Daily Wire staffer later reached out to Nicole in tears to apologize. But by then, the damage had already been done. The footage circulated online, and according to Nicole, the segment was live-streamed to individuals who had been stalking and harassing her. Nicole also says that while the Daily Wire later edited the names of the men out of the segment, Candace repeated them on her own live broadcast. To make things worse, Nicole says she was effectively barred from responding because she had active legal cases involving the men. Her attorneys advised her not to comment publicly in ways that might jeopardize those proceedings. She was instructed to issue only a brief explanation for her departure from the show, not a broader defense of her reputation. With her safety the priority, Nicole says she felt forced to remain silent while Candace's version of events spread largely uncontested. Candace soon released a video accusing Nicole of fabricating R-word allegations and arguing that false accusers must be exposed. The fallout, Nicole says, was immediate. Death threats intensified, the stalking escalated. She hired armed security, relocated, and watched professional opportunities begin to disappear. Months later, Nicole says she noticed that elements of her earlier investigative work on Black Lives Matter's donation structure appeared in a Candace Owens documentary, presented without attribution. She says Candace had not previously been aware of concerns surrounding the organization's financial transparency until Nicole raised them with her and shared her early findings, including information that had gained traction after being reposted by Brandon Tatum. Nicole says portions of that work were later edited out of her PragerU appearance and subsequently reappeared, framed as Candace's own analysis on the Daily Wire. She accuses people of what she's guilty of, Nicole told me. She always goes after reputation. It's the same game over and over. I tried to tell people in 2021 that this is who she is. In Nicole's view, Candace has repeatedly turned on prominent figures within the conservative movement itself. She went after Tommy Lauren. She went after Steven Crowder. She went after the Daily Wire, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, Turning Point USA, Kim Klacik, Donald Trump, she said. It's a hit list. She wants to take down influential conservative voices. Her bombastic style had reach across the globe. In 2019, when 49 people were killed in shootings in two New Zealand mosques, Candace was cited by one of the gunmen in his manifesto as an influence on his radicalization. The person that has influenced me above all was Candace Owens. Each time she spoke, I was stunned by her insights, and her own views helped push me further and further into the belief of violence over meekness. Although I will have to disavow some of her beliefs, the extreme actions she calls for me are too much even for my taste, he wrote, according to reports. And I think she's been in like 3 or 4 manifestos. In response, Candace was blasé. LOL. Fact, I have never created any content espousing my views on the Second Amendment or Islam. The left pretending I inspired a mosque massacre in New Zealand because I believe Black Americans can do it without government handouts is the reachiest reach of all reaches. LOL. She said, haha, oh my God, you racist leftists are taking your racism and crazy to a whole new level. Ha ha ha. Black people don't have to be Democrats. Now means mosque shootings in New Zealand. This clearly won't stick, but damn if I won't grow. Hashtag Blexit highlighting your sheer desperation. The Daily Mail located her grandfather to ask him about her reaction to the tragedy and her unlikely tie to it. This is not my granddaughter's behavior, he told the tabloid. Why would she be laughing at it? That doesn't seem proper. She is a religious person, and we taught her. She has family all over the world. Members of our family and her grandmother's family are all over the world in many nations. We just don't do that. We are not the type of people, I know how she was raised and the things we taught her, and no, that's not our character. We had a lot of influence on her life as a child, and we try to be close to our grandchildren. Charlie and me, she said, Charlie and me. Charlie was by my side. We were happy warriors. Charlie always had my back, and I always had his. In the immediate aftermath of the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens first established her credentials so that she could affirm her overwhelming authority to speak of his public and private life and its real meaning. The two of them had been a pair. They were partners. They were deeply bonded. They shared goals and ambition and work ethic. She spoke of him with familiarity, referring to his habits and who he was behind closed doors, how he packed his suitcase, even how he slept. This was September 11th, one day after the murder, and Candace seemed sincere. He had been much more than her friend of 8 years. He was the other half of the puzzle piece that clicked into place with hers, fusing their forces into one powerful whole. I was the culture and Charlie was the politics, yin and yang. Charlie needed more culture, she said, and I needed to learn more about the rules of politics. Together they were better. Together they were complete. That she cried was understandable. In retrospect, though, it seems telling that she made a point to tell viewers she had cried. The same viewers who would have presumably seen it themselves, as though she wanted to make sure they understood how dramatic the moment had been. Well, that has never happened before, she said. I guess we could say Charlie broke the internet one more time. It was subtle at first, but nevertheless unmistakable. Charlie's death was, in this way, somehow about Candace Owens, and if that was not apparent to others yet, she would make it so, and to accomplish this, whether it was deliberate or just an unintended effect of her pure-hearted pursuit of the truth, she would narratively sideline anyone whose proximity to Charlie presented an obstacle to her status as the most important woman in the universe. His wife, Miss Erika, is how she first referred to his widow, her voice softer then, but her compassion for Erika soon shifted into doubt, doubt hardened into judgment, judgment curled into open hostility. At times, the hostility began to sound like something closer to paranoia. Eventually, she called for law enforcement to treat Erika as a murder suspect. Erika should be dragged into a police precinct, she said. Erika needs to be questioned. Let me tell you how God works, Candace said. She had become interested in Erika's time as a real estate agent. Erika received her New York real estate license around the time she met Charlie, she noted, which she found strange, since She remembered being told Erika worked in fashion when they first met, and her work for the Coranon group had gone unmentioned. As she explored this part of Erika's life, Candace said she came across a video posted by an amateur sleuth on the same subject. The sleuth noted what he described as a suspicious coincidence that the president of Coranon Group appeared in the Epstein files. For anyone in need of legal sound ways to be paid for illegal services, the sleuth suggested real estate is a convenient business. The video had been posted on TikTok and explicitly directed at Candace during the same time period she was researching the topic. Algorithms predict and pander by design. Your recent behavior determines what you see next. The odds of encountering content tied to your interest rises even higher when the content tags your account. But Candace said she was not a TikToker and could not remember how she first saw the video. Maybe someone had sent it to her. The how was not important, she added, because she was certain about the why. It was divine intervention. God wanted her to have this information. Delusions of grandeur, right there. I just feel like is a phrase Candace often uses before sharing an inflammatory theory for which she has weak evidence or none at all. She would have viewers believe she's referring to a powerful intuition. In reality, it functions as a legal hedge. If she is merely expressing feelings rather than making statements of fact, she can never technically be wrong. She invites viewers to help her, asking anyone with information about Erika to send tips and issuing an open call for former classmates to get in touch. Who is Erika? Candace shows little humility about the enormity of that question. She trusts what she feels, and she feels that Erika is not who she seems. She performed an on-screen blitz. She was the woman who had been close to him first. She was the woman with whom he had been very, very close. She was so close, in fact, she had the authority to rhetorically enter their home, their bedroom, and wield her mysterious expertise against the woman she previously identified as Miss Erika Kirk. And now, needling as a prime suspect in a murder in which the suspect identified by law enforcement had long ago been apprehended and charged, however officially. The implication is that's what woke up her 3-year-old daughter at 2:45 in the morning. That's not when toddlers at that age that's not when toddlers at the age of 3 wake up, okay? These are sleep-trained toddlers, okay? Gigi wakes up at 2:45, a 3-year-old kid who should be in the REM stage of sleep. Toddlers knock out. Maybe Gigi is a light sleeper. It's also just curious that they're all awake at 2:45. I don't know what's going on. This was the sham story about how Charlie ended up sleeping in his daughter's bed on the final night of his life. I'm starting to get the feeling that there might have been another reason why the daughter woke up, but stick with me. Maybe there's noise, not from excitement, but from an argument, she says. Essential to the case Candace was building was the claim that it was hard to believe Charlie would have been filled with adrenaline on the eve of an event at a college when he had done hundreds of similar events at hundreds of similar colleges throughout his career. He was a pro. Left unmentioned was the fact that the event was the start of a tour, the kickoff of a prolonged period of travel and taxing public events. This is true for any performer. Candace focused instead on what we'd have to take her word and interpretation for. Charlie messaged multiple people to say they were going to kill him the night before, she said. She pointed again to the matter of Charlie's wedding ring and what Erika had disclosed in her interview with the New York Times in the immediate aftermath of his assassination. That when he returned to the bedroom they shared on the next and final morning together, he grabbed his wedding ring and put it back on his finger. I immediately clocked that. I said, that's weird, just because I know Charlie. But I couldn't explain that to the audience. I know Charlie. Charlie's the kind of person who could sleep with his boots on. Like this little ring. Erika is exceedingly uncomfortable discussing Charlie's final day, she said. She scrutinized Erika's every breath and every syllable, assuming the worst, with little apparent appetite to be dissuaded from those assumptions. I am told, she says, though she would not say who told her what she was about to share. She reminded viewers that Erika mentioned in an interview with Glenn Beck that a priest had visited their home the night before his death. We did what we usually did before tours, Erika had said. We said our prayer and we asked the Lord to protect us and we asked the Lord that his will be done. Candace distressed the story. It was implausible, she suggested, that a priest would have prayed with Charlie and Erika on that fateful night simply for the usual protection. In fact, what she knew from her unnamed source was that the prayer was for something else, something that supported her swelling suspicions about Erika. The priest had not arrived at the Kirk household to compel God to protect the family from harm, but to protect the Kirk marriage from ruin. The priest came over to pray over Charlie and Erika's marriage, Candace said. Can you believe this? This is so crazy. Absent from Candace's telling was the appropriate context for the event she discussed. Glenn Beck interviewed Erika Kirk as conspiracies related to the assassination of Charlie Kirk engulfed her. The script in which Erika was cast as a potential suspect in the shooting that killed her husband and permanently disfigured her family was authored in considerable part by Candace. Since his death, she has devoted dozens of episodes of her weekday program to an investigation that has implicated many institutions and individuals, but has increasingly focused on the state of Israel and Erika Kirk. As Candace sought to wrest control of the narrative around her husband, Erika tried to survive the one unfolding around her. Erika said this was because Charlie had received death threats and their children had received death threats. In increasing numbers as the polarized American political mood grew more volatile. What Candace had been told lacked the context. The picture that is starting to emerge is that Charlie's last day consisted of a lot of arguments over his shifting away from the pro-Israel position, him communicating with people that he was over it, that he did not want the money, him communicating to people that he wanted to bring me back to Amfest. I feel I could be wrong. There was a knock him dead argument that happened. That's what makes logical sense to me about what I don't know. That's what makes sense. They have not been honest about that relationship, Candace said. It wasn't this amazing, godly relationship. Take it from her. Donald Trump welcomed Erika as his guest at the State of the Union last month, a decisive statement that no matter how fractured the conservative movement may be, and no matter how the hatred against her spins jagged and viral, the conspiratorial-aligned president himself has made his choice, and his example is clear. This could be because it's the right thing to do. It could be more cynically because it's the politically advantageous thing to do. It's an endorsement from Charlie Kirk that now polls almost as powerful in inter-party contests as an endorsement from Trump himself, and the midterms are on the horizon. With all their implications for the second half of the president's second term in office and his legacy to follow, whatever the intention, it's true that it's Charlie who inspired loyalty and who received officially some decency and some shelter for his family in return. Candace Owens was not invited to the event in Washington. The last time she heard from the president, the moment was so monumental that she announced it to the camera in her studio, her smile wide and prideful. The next afternoon, she debuted Bride of Charlie. Its horror style of aesthetics were no match for the horror of the program itself, which has featured mimicry of the tearful words spoken by Erika in the hours after the event that transformed her by a matter of seconds and centimeters from wife to widow and mother to two fatherless babies. The series has featured unwieldy climbs through tenuous branches of Erika Kirk's family tree, accusations that Erika is connected to foreign government, intelligence agencies, Jeffrey Epstein, and global trafficking operations, war contracting, and ambiguous child abuse committed, perhaps against hypothetical war-raged children, and allegations that she had a sexually inappropriate relationship with an underage girl, which is then tied to the implication that she is a closeted lesbian, which is then tied to the insinuation that she is just like the First Lady of France, by which I mean a biological male. By the 8th episode of the series, Candace had succeeded in further sullying Erika, but had turned up no proof that she was anything other than a widow trying to continue on without her husband and the father of her children. Nonetheless, the show has been popular. For some viewers, this is just entertainment, the 2026 version of a daytime soap opera. For all her dramatic expertise, it occurred to me that she has failed to plot out one crucial thing. When the hero is always Candace Owens and the villain is never in doubt, viewers who don't get turned off will eventually get bored. And that's the end of that. We made it, you guys. When I started this series, I didn't set out to prove anything. I set out to just build a timeline, to put all this into one place. Everything we knew about Candace Owens. I had no idea that there would be so much. And after months of research, videos, articles, interviews, public records, a pattern emerged that we could all see, that we could all follow. We started with Candace Owens' early controversies long before most people had ever heard her name. Social media fights, the accusations, the public feuds, the willingness to go after people personally when she felt challenged. We followed her rise through Turning Point USA, Blexit, PragerU, and The Daily Wire. And at every stage, we found many of the same themes repeating themselves: conflicts with former friends, conflicts with former allies, conflicts with former employees, conflicts with anyone who questioned her, conflicts with anyone who simply disagreed with her. We looked at the stories involving Tommy Lauren, Kim Klacik, Nicole Arbor, Steven Crowder, and others. Different people, different circumstances, but often remarkably similar outcomes. A disagreement would emerge, the disagreement would become public, the conflict would escalate, and eventually an audience would be brought into the fight. We examined her shifting positions over the years and the contradictions that critics have pointed out. We looked at the conspiratorial narrative surrounding Bridget McCrone and the increasingly complex web of accusations that followed. We looked at the fallout with the Daily Wire, the people who once helped elevate her career. We examined the claims about Charlie Kirk, the organization he built, and the people closest to him. And finally, we arrived at Erika Kirk. For many observers, this was the moment that changed everything. Not because it was the first controversy, not because it was the first accusation, but because it represented the endpoint, a pattern that had been visible for years. What began as political commentary had, in the eyes of many critics, evolved into something far more personal. The ally becomes the enemy. The disagreement becomes a public battle. The battle becomes a narrative, and the narrative becomes the content. Whether you believe the pattern was intentional, accidental, ideological, financial, or something in between, it is ultimately up to you. My goal in this series was never to tell you guys what to think. It was to document the timeline, to present the receipts, to follow the story where it led. And boy, did it lead everywhere, all over the place, right? Thank you for taking this journey with me, you guys. It's been amazing. I can't believe we've made it this far. It has been a lot. A lot. And it's been emotional, an emotional ride. And it's been sad, and it's been funny, and it's been weird, and it's been strange. And I'm glad we all did this together. And I'm glad this record is here, that anybody can find and watch. The entire timeline, everything laid out, or at least as much as we could do, right? I'm so grateful for everyone. I'm so grateful for all my subscribers, everyone who's been watching this along with me. I appreciate you guys more than you can know. For a small channel like mine, just starting out, I feel like I've gained a lot of really great people to my channel with this series. I would like to take this moment and thank everyone who has subscribed and supported my channel during this series. If you found value in my work on this series, please consider supporting with a super thanks that can be found beneath this video in the logo bar or in the 3 dots. Thank you all so very much. What do you guys think? What did you guys think of this series? Let me know in the comments below, and I hope you have a good rest of your day or evening, whatever time it is for you. And I will see you next time on The Eclectic Journalist.